Squad members and many Democrats were protesting outside of the Supreme Court for abortion rights, and they got arrested. And here's the best part. AOC and Ilhan Omar pretended they were handcuffed. It's a weird story. I know that's why we wanted to lead with it and talk about what happened with this protest and the arrest, because they faked being handcuffed, probably for a photo op. We're also learning the much more important story is that Democrats are pushing a bill to pack the Supreme Court because they know they're losing. They're likely not going to win in November. They know they're likely not going to win in November. So they said, okay, it's time to pack the Supreme Court, take what power we have, and just force these things through. Now, there's a lot of news going on today. We got that. We got Ron DeSantis apparently is within range of Trump in the polling, and things are starting to move really well for Ron DeSantis in terms of the presidency. We'll see if he actually is competitive with Trump as we move forward. I mean, we're still 2 years out. We are an eternity away from the election, but for some reason, it's just getting crazier and crazier. And then my favorite story here, Netflix is bleeding subscribers, which is laughable. Go broke. And Disney has been surpassed by the Daily Wire's podcast network, which is also hilarious. And I'm happy to hear it. So we got a lot of awesome stuff to talk about. Before we get started, my friends, head over to timcast.com, become a member to support our work. Because the big announcement that I've been making in every video now is that we have removed PayPal from our website. If you are a timcast.com member and you use PayPal, you're fine. You'll still be able to log in and everything will be normal. Every new member that signs up, it will default Parallel Economy, which is supported by Dan Bongino. I believe he's involved to a certain degree. I don't know exactly his role.
He was one of the creators.
One of the creators of Parallel Economy. Is that what he is?
Yeah, one of the founders.
Wow. Well, hey, glad to hear it. And Rumble's also involved. Parallel Economy is a censorship-resistant payment processor because we mean it. We've got a lot of stuff in the works, from making new shows to doing big ad buys to expanding this platform, timcast.com, to take the culture that we're building, the ideas that we have, the values we have, and turning into something very, very massive. And first and foremost, we said, we don't want to get banned, and we don't want to support companies that hate you and I. Giving them money so they can facilitate the service is a problem. So we got rid of them. Parallel Economy right now. When you sign up at timcast.com, you're supporting us. You're supporting Parallel Economy's effort to displace PayPal and other big censorship platforms, and Rumble doing similarly. So I'm really excited that's the case. And of course, as a member, you'll get access to our after hours show, Timcast Uncensored, on the front page of the website every day, or I should say Monday through Thursday at about 11 p.m. We put those up. So support our work at timcast.com. Don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. And ladies and gentlemen, joining us tonight to talk about all of this, a couple of guests. First, we have Keean Bexte.
Hey there, Tim. How are you?
Who are you?
Well, I am a reporter for the Counter Signal. I'm based out of Canada. And lately I've been covering stories about energy security, food security, and that sort of has all culminated in the Netherlands, where we're seeing this Dutch uprising. It's just very similar to what brought me out here last time when I came to talk about the convoy in Ottawa. They're doing very similar stuff, and they are a rowdy bunch of protesters. So it was really exciting to be there and see the tactics that they were using, burning bales on the side of the road, like bale IEDs. I'd never seen anything like it. It was nuts.
Do they burst or something?
Yeah, they put fireworks, I guess, in the middle of the bales, and as bales burn down, gets to the fireworks, lights them off, and then loose hay just explodes. It was crazy.
That's crazy.
They were lining the
we
highways
got to talk
with
about that for
stuff.
sure.
Yeah, for sure.
The food shortage stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's what we've been covering, and happy to be here.
Right on. We also got Daniel Turner.
It's great to be back here. Daniel Turner, Power of the Future, Daniel Turner PTF on all platforms, powerofthefuture.com's the organization's website, and thanks for having me on. And John Hale, new hat for you, buddy. He's my hat friend.
Right on.
Who always asks me about my hats when I'm on your show.
This is going to be a good combination of conversations. Farming, food crisis, energy, very interrelated. And as we lead with this abortion protest, I just want to point out, the American people, according to Gallup, view economic issues at 40% of Americans think it's the most pressing issue. Economic issues are. And abortion is at 1%.
Yeah.
And climate change was even less in that New York Times poll that came out yesterday. 0% of Republicans, 0% of Hispanics, 0% of African Americans.
Whoa.
Basically, it was 42-year-old brown graduates with a degree in like poetry. That was all who cares
Sure,
about.
it wasn't. I would assumed it was like middle-aged white women.
Yeah, we went to Brown and studied poetry.
Oh, that's what you mean.
That's
Right.
the ones who care about climate change.
All right, right on. And of course, Ian's chilling.
Hi, everybody. Ian Crossland here, iancrossland.net. Happy to be here. Let's keep going.
Yeah, and I'm also here in the corner, happy to be here with these two hatted gentlemen, one from the U.S., one from Canada. So I am stoked. We'll get into see what trouble we can get up to tonight. This is a great story we're starting out with.
Right on, everybody. Let's jump to this first story. We got Timcast.com breaking. Multiple members of Congress, including AOC, arrested over pro-abortion demonstration outside SCOTUS. Take a look at this here picture. Why, AOC's hands are behind her back.
And she's smiling.
Looks like she's being arrested. Well, she was arrested, but she staged the handcuffs. She faked it. Take a look at this. We have this, Daily Mail circled it. She pretended to be handcuffed. And you know what Daily Mail says? I love this. They're like, mock cops by pretending they've been cuffed. Mock the cops? What does that mean? Why would the cops be mocked or care about that at all? No, what they're doing is people on Twitter are seeing photos of them with their hands behind their back and they're going, whoa, they handcuffed AOC? They handcuffed Ilhan Omar? People who are not paying attention will just see photos on the news of them with their hands behind their back as if they were cuffed when they weren't, for dramatic effect. Mm-hmm. And then AOC walks a few feet and then like when she's out of range of the camera, she does a big power fist or whatever. Red salute or something like that. Yo, it's just so fake.
When they look
All
back,
of it's so
dude,
fake, man.
Like you see that picture of Bernie Sanders getting pulled out of like he was like civil rights activist getting arrested on the street. Like it's real chaos.
Yeah.
And then they're gonna juxtapose it with this and be like AOC faking being handcuffed, looking back like what a
No, they think that in 20 years, she's going to show this photo and be like, I fought for abortion rights. Look at this picture of me.
It's like when Joe Biden was arrested in South Africa for protesting the right Nelson Mandela. Remember that?
That's right.
At least he tells the story. There's no evidence
ever
that he
happened.
was. But he was arrested. Joe Biden claims he's been arrested like 5 or 6 times, and there's no documentation of it anywhere. But every time he tells the story, he was arrested somewhere. But you know what? I got to say, everyone should find themselves someone who loves them as much as these folks love abortion.
No, right?
Like they love. When there was the whole talk about how we're not pro-abortion, we're just pro-choice. No, you all love abortion.
I thought you were going to say find someone who loves you as much as these people love themselves.
That's
That too. Well, that is abortion, though, isn't it? Yeah. But yeah, these folks. And she has a history of fake photo ops, right? I mean, the white pantsuit one at the detention facility. Mm-hmm. That turns out was a parking lot.
That's actually a fake? Like
Yes.
It's just so hard to believe that someone would do something so stupid. But like she went there and pretended to be upset about something that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Or let herself be upset about what she was imagining in front of her or something.
And brought her camera crew
That's
with her.
so disturbing.
And took all the photos and had carefully chosen outfits because you go to the desert wearing, white Chanel pantsuits and the whole thing was totally staged, but it worked, right? Because as Tim was saying, if you are a naive leftist and you think she's a hero, you just see those photos and you say she's the best. And now they're going to do the same with her handcuff photo.
Maybe I'm from Canada and I have a different angle on this, but it seems like that couldn't have turned out worse for her because now there's this meme going around where whenever anyone's crying about they broke a nail, that's the picture is her cut out white pantsuit crying about it. That was one photo.
Look at these pictures. She's like,
insane,
or Terry the roller skater from Reno 911 saying, "I was murdered." Right, that's the other. That's the other one for her.
it was an empty parking lot, and she's crying. This one right here, she's just so awful.
Yeah,
when they write the history, they could either erase all the fake stuff and be like, remember when she was protesting and got arrested and handcuffed? Remember when she was crying for members? They could do that and try and manipulate the past, but if it stays transparent, it just looks so bad.
I think to be fair, like, haven't you ever been at like a big venue or something and parking's really hard to find and there's a big fence on the other side there's a ton of parking spaces, you can't park it. You just break down. You're like, I want to park my car.
I want VIP parking.
Oh no, like going to a Cubs game in Chicago and you got to find parking. And you're driving around, you're like, maybe sooner or later someone's going to move, and then they don't. And then you just see that parking lot with the fence all the way around it, and you just walk over in your white pantsuit and start crying.
Yeah.
I got to see the 34 members who were arrested. AOC is clearly from New York. Ilhan Omar's from Minnesota. Nothing in terms of abortion law has changed in their state.
Right.
So you can
not.
decry.
We got the list here of the Democrats who are arrested.
Bush,
You can decry like the national right that you think was erased, which obviously is a falsehood, for Virginia, where I am from, for Maryland, for California, most states, nothing has changed. Not only that, for many states now, they're paying for people to come to their state and have an abortion. So AOC should celebrate. New York is probably having more abortion than it did before. Where it was
well, here's the crazy thing that I'm thinking of with this stuff is, if Texas says abortion's illegal, and a man says to the like a man and woman, hook up. Woman gets pregnant.
where babies are made.
Woman is 8.5 weeks pregnant. I'm sorry, 8.5 months pregnant, and then says, I'm going to terminate, but I can do it in Colorado, not in Texas. So this is a viable baby, able to survive on its own, and she flees the state without telling anyone to go to Colorado to abort it because there's no restrictions. This guy goes to Texas and says, help, she's kidnapped my child. He's viable. We could deliver the baby. She doesn't need to kill it, but she doesn't want it, so she's going to kill it. The interesting thing is, because we talk about this a lot, if a woman did that to a baby that was 2 inches forward out of her womb, but the same gestational period, she'd be hunted down for kidnapping and attempted murder. But the same baby of the same gestational period in her womb, she can drive out of state to Colorado to kill.
Yeah, it's a magic birth canal.
This is crazy right now because this is exactly how it is. This could happen right now. In Texas, you can't do it. In Colorado, you can at 8.5 weeks for any reason.
Months, you said.
I'm sorry, I said weeks again.
months.
Months. At, like almost to the point of birth. Colorado has no restrictions. What would happen right now if a woman did that? If a woman was pregnant and went to Colorado and said, I don't care. A doctor could deliver the baby and get it out, C-section or whatever, but she's like, no, nope, don't care.
If
Trudeau
the guy
is doing this in Canada as well. They're calling for Americans to come and try abortion tourism. Help our economy because he's destroyed it so much. And yeah, you can come on up. And in Canada, I don't know if you know this, but we have zero laws. I guess it's the Colorado case. There's no law on it whatsoever. Nothing on the books. You can kill that child up until it's breathing air, which is shocking to, I think, probably to a lot of Americans, but it's shocking to any.
But does that happen?
There's definitely been cases of it. Yeah, especially where there's not a lot of, especially out east, where there's not a lot of people drawing attention to the tragedy of it. In Alberta, where I'm from, there's a lot of agencies that are willing to help young mothers so that they can actually deliver the child and give it a good life, or even put it up for adoption if that's what's required. But out east, a lot of those supports don't exist because it's abortion is second nature to Eastern Canadians.
I gotta think. I'm not an attorney, so those listening who are going to correct me. I have to think if in that scenario that you raised, it would be no different. And I know a baby is not drugs. I know a baby is not whatever. I'm not trying to make light of the pregnancy, but I have to think the rule would apply that if there's certain states you can smoke weed and some that you can't. If I cross the border and I smoke weed in that state and I come back, you can't say, well, you did something wrong. Not in that state I didn't. If you can take your kid to a movie at NC-17 to one state as opposed to another, and I take my kid to Colorado and we see a movie there, we come back to Texas and they say that's illegal. Well, in Texas it's illegal, but in Colorado it's not. I have to think there would be nothing done to the pregnant mother. No, because what happened was whatever ultimately happened in a different state, and Texas's laws don't have jurisdiction in that state.
Sure, and the feds would have to get involved, and this is where things get crazy. So the woman goes to Colorado and she terminates the pregnancy, kills the baby. Texas says that's an illegal, and she says not in Colorado.
Not in Colorado, it's not.
So what if Colorado said you're allowed to literally kill a person? That's all of a sudden okay? Like, the issue is, what would happen if the woman gave birth and then literally grabbed the baby, ran and got in the car and just drove to Colorado, still like literally after just delivering, and she's whatever, like kind of messed up and hurt or something, and then gets to Colorado and then goes to an abortion doctor who kills the baby? Like, it's a murder, right? So what does Texas do if a person kidnaps a child and murders it? What would Texas do? Contact the feds? And what if the fed says we won't intervene? Then what? I honestly don't know. Like, what happens? They'd get away with it. I mean, I'll just put it that way. There's people need to understand this about crime in this country. The feds have a threshold. I believe it's literally called the threshold, where if a federal crime is committed but doesn't reach a certain level, they don't care.
Like a certain extremity of crime? Like,
the way it was explained to me is federal securities fraud in the amount of $400 Feds won't care about. They're not going to waste any resources over something that small. They'll ignore it. But if you're somebody whose like life savings was stolen by someone and it was a couple grand, the feds probably will do nothing, as long as it was interstate. And the states will be like, we don't have jurisdiction in that state. Sorry, can't do anything about it.
If you illegally register for a handgun and you happen to be the president's son, the feds don't care.
No, exactly.
Right? It doesn't matter.
There's degrees and there's tiers. That's how it works.
Yeah.
So my question is, Colorado says it's illegal. Texas says it's illegal. Colorado says it's legal. That's a really weird circumstance. Like, it is a night and day difference in morality. Imagine if Indiana said, you're allowed to kill people, have fun. And Illinois said, you're not. So a woman took her 12-year-old child to Indiana, bashed him over the head, and then drove back to Illinois and said, wasn't illegal.
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
I'm pretty sure they're still going to be like, we don't care, you murdered the person.
That's why
you're
we
gonna
have
arrest.
federal laws saying that murder is illegal no matter what state. And you could argue that maybe there should be federal laws about abortion just,
Right,
to make it easier. But
here's the issue. What if the federal government says, we're not getting involved, we don't care?
then the states
Yeah.
could decide where murder is legal. Like a state could say, you're allowed to murder in our state.
I mean,
now.
that was the
That's
premise
literally
of,
what they're doing according to conservatives. Colorado is allowing limitless abortion at to the point of birth.
Yeah,
So
but-
like, let's use Canada as an example. Like, what if someone drives from Wisconsin into Canada because there's no limits, and then like as they're giving birth, they kill the baby? What is someone going to do? This is a really good example because
take a selfie with him.
this is where there is no international resolution because it's two different countries. If the federal government says we side with Colorado, because Biden basically has, and we're not going to intervene, I wonder at what point does Texas say, like, we need to be able to do expeditions, essentially, to extradite people who kidnap people and murder them.
Dude, if another state was doing expeditions into my state, I would fully support the governor's removal from power and some sort of military action.
From your state?
From if a state went rogue and started invading and attacking other states because of their zealous beliefs, I would fully support a national and state, multi-state
All right. Let me ask you this.
offensive against them to make them
Let me
stop.
ask you this. Someone kidnaps your significant other and then murders her 10 miles away across state lines. And what do?
It'd become federal offense at that point.
And the feds say, we don't care, Ian, go away.
Well, it's murder. That's a
Go,
different
we don't
story.
care, go away.
I mean, well, then justice has failed at that stage. What do you
Yes, literally that's what's happening right now.
do? It's
my,
not murder.
My point.
It's not literal murder. It's abortion's not murder.
Okay, well, Seamus thinks it is. Conservatives think it
You can
is.
think things that aren't real. It doesn't make it real.
Okay.
What's the penalty if you aborted a child in Texas now that this has changed? Like, what would be the penalty?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's like trafficking abortion or something like that.
Yeah,
My point is, Ian, your morality is irrelevant to the question of legality.
Correct.
If in Texas they say it is illegal to do, and the people of Texas agree with the law that is illegal and amoral to do, and someone commits that crime somewhere else and the feds don't get involved, what's the reaction going to be? Do we let people from other states literally kill our children? That's their perspective. You might not agree with it. You're like, nah, Colorado's right. They're wrong. Well, eventually someone's going to grab a bunch of guns, get on the back of a motorcycle and drive in, and they're going to go stop
It's not
these
right.
people.
It's not right and wrong. Like you said, it's not a morality issue. It's a legal issue. And
I
Texas
just-
has no jurisdiction.
It is the
in
premise
Colorado.
of the famous Dred Scott case. I'm going to get the states confused, but the whole premise of Dred Scott, which was a terrible decision by the courts, was that they took this African American guy, Dred Scott, from a free state to a slave state, and they were like, well, now that you're in this state, now you're a slave. And he was like, no, I'm not. I'm actually from Wisconsin. And they were like, well, you're in Missouri now, and now you're a slave. And he's like, but I'm not a slave. And the courts decided, well, you are. The state's jurisdiction were greater than, it doesn't matter what, in Illinois or Wisconsin you were free. You're not free here.
No, Dred Scott said that descendants of Africa had no rights to citizenship. So it was way worse than just that.
Well, no, but I mean, but the premise of it was this person's status depended upon what state he lived in.
Yeah.
The courts ultimately decided that the states had the jurisdiction to change his stature.
Well,
Of course,
let me-
it was a terrible decision, but it's the same about this unborn baby.
Right.
Does the baby's stature of life, viability of life, does its persona depend upon the state?
Maybe, but that's not what I'm bringing up. I don't think it's relevant. I'll ask you this, Ian. Do you believe that Seamus thinks abortion is murder?
Well, he's told me that he thinks it is, so I got to take him at his word there.
All right, okay. So let's just ignore the context around it and say someone kidnapped Seamus's child and is trying to murder it. What do you think he would do to stop that murder from taking place?
I don't know.
This is what I mean. Like, I don't see I don't see a good outcome to the fact that you have states like where there are people who are literally like, it is murder and I will not allow it. Louisiana tried to codify it as homicide.
But that's zealous. Like, it's not murder legally. So for you to say, well, I think it is, like, sorry, buddy, take a step in line. Like, wait, it's not murder.
I'm looking at a Politico article right now, and they say Texas has a trigger ban. So anyone who performs, induces, or attempts abortion is guilty of a second-degree felony if the fetus survives, and first-degree felony if not. A first-degree felony is punishable by life.
What's the title of the statute though? Like, what's the violation? What's the criminal violation?
Just says first-degree felony. I'm not sure what that is. I'm not.
So I guess the crime would be the crime of abortion.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Which is after like 14 weeks. I don't know what Texas's number is, but
I think Texas is period.
Anyone who performs, induces, or attempts abortion, which would be.
I guess we have to look at
wide-reaching.
under what statute does it fall? Because I'm curious if it falls under a murder statute. Louisiana tried to codify it as homicide. They backed off. So, Ian, when you say it's not murder, well, right, legally, I would argue it doesn't fall under homicide, and they're trying to do that. Regardless, though, if people don't care about the distinction between the word murder and the word abortion, and they view it the same way, you saying it's not is completely irrelevant to what the law of Texas and Oklahoma
it's
is.
just
and other
it
states.
sounds like an argument towards postmodernism. Like, well, if I believe it, then that's my truth, and so that's real. Like,
No, but
sorry, guys.
In Texas, though, it's obviously considered a very serious crime, and there's serious crimes that I think a lot of people would go to great lengths to prevent, not just murder.
Right.
Dismemberment of a limb or any sort of rape or abuse or child abuse. People would step in and violently protect their.
I mean, another way to question it is some states the age of consent is 16. In some states it's 18. How do states handle it if a person takes a 16-year-old across state lines to a state with a lower age of consent? When you come back, you go to jail. You get charged. Now, I guess the question is, will Illinois do anything to go to Indiana to rescue the minor if the feds won't? I don't know. I'd have to look into the history of the law and wonder if anybody knows. We'll put it this way. A 16-year-old who is a minor in one state is taken by a 25-year-old to a neighboring state with a lower age of consent, and they say, we're never coming back. What will that other state do? They're like, nah, in this state it's legal. In your state it's not. They're like, well, you kidnapped a minor from our state, even though it's legal in that state. And that's possible. Like, some states actually have those differences. If the feds don't get involved, do you think the parents of the 16-year-old are going to be like, guess our kid's kidnapped?
Yeah.
Or do you think they're going to be like, hell in high water, I am getting my kid back?
If the kid actually got kidnapped, if the kid went of its own volition, does it have the authority?
Minors can't consent.
So then it would be a federal crime if someone took a 16-year-old across
And if
state
the
lines.
feds said it's not a crime in that, we're not doing it, we're not involved. If the feds said we will not intervene, do you think the people of the state where the kid was taken from will just sit back and be like, well, that sucks? Or do you think they're going to be like, please help me save my child, they were kidnapped? Like, I'm saying, these circumstances could happen in some capacity already.
They probably will.
They probably already have.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure people will probably have a bunch of references they may bring up. I'm wondering, like, where we go here, because what's happening now is illegal abortion and legal abortion are so legally distinct and, like, stark, night and day. In Texas, it is illegal, period. In Colorado, there is no restriction at all. It is so different that, like, you've got a very serious crime that the feds will not intervene in because there's no federal statute on it. So what happens when a person flees the state with pregnant with a child of a man who doesn't want the child to be killed, and then the child is killed in another state that allows it? Like, there's no federal involvement because there's no federal statute. So what happens? The person just can't come back to Texas? Well, then is Texas going to be like, well, if people start fleeing the state and killing the children of these men, we will do nothing about it? You're going to get the system can't sustain itself in that way. It's just, I don't know what happens at that point.
It's pretty raw. I was kind of putting myself in the mind of that guy, like a dad who's got an 8.5-month-old baby in gestation, and the woman that wants to bring the baby to term and raise it. And the mom's like, no, I don't want a baby. The dad's like, well, they're divorcing, baby. The guy's like, I'll raise it. This is my son. I want it. And the mom's like, no, I'm going to go kill it. The guy has no right to stop her. Like, grab her by the shoulder. You can't.
He might in Texas.
They might. I don't know. Did they have a right? to do it, like
To
legal
prevent
right.
her from committing a crime or something.
Yeah, 'cause
she
it's-
expressed intent. He calls the
'Cause
police and says she's
leaving
gonna-
state lines isn't a crime. After
That-
that,
this
it's,
is-
it's
This is
off the
crazy
table.
territory, man.
It is.
It's
because
amazing in
imagine
America.
the woman's not going to get abortion, and the guy's just like, "You ain't leaving me." So he calls the police and says she's trying to leave to get an
It's
abortion.
like a red flag law.
Right? What do you? I
Interesting.
don't know how you deal with this with the circumstance.
That's
It's
why
crazy.
that's why Roe v. Wade I thought made sense, is because you can't leave it to the states to figure out where killing is going to be fine. Can I just walk over there and kill him then if I can't do it over here? Like, that's why we had this blanket rule of like, no, you just can't, or yes, you can.
It wasn't. It
no,
wasn't,
you can't. Whatever.
It wasn't.
The Roe v. Wade was like, states can't decide. It's already decided for you.
No, within a certain amount of time, and then Casey changed it to viability, which made it nebulous, which resulted in a bunch of states having different periods.
Yeah.
So it was totally different. People would be like, in my state it's 11 weeks, in your state it's 15, so I'll just drive across state lines. Same problem. The overturn Dobbs resulted in them saying, you need to codify at the federal level through Congress to figure this out, which they don't have. So now we're in really dangerous territory. But let's advance. I don't want to keep harping on this one issue because we've got others. Take a look at this story that's also rather depressing. House Democrats tout bill to add 4 seats to the Supreme Court.
Oh boy.
This is them just saying, we can't win politically.
Yeah.
We can't win your votes. Nuke the system and give us the power.
Jeez.
And if they actually try to overturn or bypass the filibuster to stack 4 more seats and give Joe Biden 4 appointees, man, this country just implodes. What do you think? Like, what do you guys think will happen if, let's say, in the next session or whatever, they say we're doing away with the filibuster, we're pushing this bill through, it gets pushed through, and then Joe Biden goes 1, 2, 3, 4 new Supreme Court justices. What do you think the reaction would be?
Yeah, well, this is theatrics, because Manchin and Sinema already said they would not tank the filibuster. They don't have the votes for it, and Manchin and Sinema both came out and said they wouldn't allow court packing. So they know they don't have the votes in the Senate. The House doesn't have any jurisdiction in this area, right? Only the Senate approves or confirms justices. So this is desperate for November to say, hey, vote for me because I proposed a bill to add 4 justices of the Supreme Court. This is all theatrics. It's terrible. The scenario that you're painting is bad, and we shouldn't be playing these games. It reminds me of like playing with your. Do you have a lot of brothers? I was the youngest of a whole bunch. Reminds me of playing with your brothers as a kid, and when you're the baby, and you keep changing the rules because it's like not fair. You can only throw red ones, and you have to close your eyes. And it's like by the end, the rules are so stupid, but it's basically because you're a loser and you don't want to lose. You want to prolong the game, and that's what they're doing. They just keep changing the rules to prolong the game.
I suppose it's fair to say, obviously it'll never happen. You know?
Yeah.
But we didn't think Roe v. Wade was going to get overturned either. And that's,
Well, some people did.
yeah, but most people didn't.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg was one. She thought it would be overturned eventually.
There were a lot of conservatives that were like, there's
Yeah.
no way they'll do it.
Yeah.
They won't do it. They didn't. Some people thought it was going to happen, but most people didn't. I mean, maybe we had conversations, but I thought the attitude most people had was like, man, I don't know. I don't think they'll have spine for it. Roberts will be opposed to it. And then it happened, and I didn't think it was going to happen. But I will say, at the very least, the bare minimum is we're at the point where Democrats are just basically saying, torch the system and give us the power, regardless of if they're able to get it or not. And so if we keep moving in this direction, it's only a matter of time before it spills over. And then I mean, I got to be honest, I already think we're in the territory of, it's just about seizing power regardless of what matters for the American people.
Yeah. And what's frustrating about this is that Roe is a clearly very dramatic decision. It's got a lot of impact. I'm not at all making light of it. But there have been a lot of Supreme Court cases which have way more impact on the average American without them realizing it, that were decided poorly. Kelo versus New London is the one that always comes to my mind, which was about eminent domain, right? And the right for the government to seize your property for the promise of additional taxes. That if you go to Times Square in New York right now, you'll see all these signs because the governor of the state and the mayor want to take over about 300 businesses around Penn Station because they want to build a new 15-building complex. And they're like, well, this is my little pizzeria. And it's like, well, we're going to take it because of eminent domain. And they legally have the right because of Kelo versus New London. It happens all the time. Eminent domain is how government seizes your property because Tim wants to build a condo there, and the condo will generate more taxes than your little farm.
That's crazy. That's
A terrible decision. So my point is that the courts have made terrible decisions in the past. Dred Scott was one of the terrible decisions. Korematsu was one of the terrible decisions. But we've never responded with, well, therefore we have to blow up the courts. So it shows you not just the pettiness of the left right now, but it shows you the real ignorance of them. Right? Politics is a slug match, and sometimes you win and sometimes you lose, and the system prevails for 246 years. But the fact that they're like, well, now we don't want to play the game anymore.
It's cultural decay.
It really is.
And how do you repair that? How do you I don't know if you can.
Take back control of the money system. That's a good start. Like you said at the beginning of the show, 40% of people think the economy is the biggest problem, whereas 1% thinks it's abortion.
Yeah.
0%. What was the other one we were talking about?
Climate change.
0% thinks it's climate change.
0%.
Yeah.
But how many
Remorse.
people are going to try and nuke the system for the economy?
Well, I don't want to nuke it. I just want to fix it.
No. I'm not saying you do. I'm saying there are people who are looking at abortion at maybe 1%, but those are people who are willing to throw firebombs.
The
at other
radicals,
people.
yeah.
Yeah, don't put power in the hands of radicals right now. Well,
Yeah,
there might be a time and a place for it, but not over abortion.
That's what's happening.
We need to focus on the economy.
AOC, 13 million followers, and she's growing, and she's with that fake handcuff thing.
Yep.
It's clearly she's just trying to manipulate people for power. She pretended to be handcuffed.
Yeah.
Photo op.
Thinks like if she can get enough people behind her, believing in her, then she can do the right thing.
Right thing?
Yeah, like
When has she
I'll
done the
use
right thing?
subversion to get people on my side, and then I'll do the
The
right
one
thing.
thing I've agreed on her with was when she said police maybe open the doors from the inside.
Yeah.
But she's only saying that because it personally impacts her.
Yeah.
I'm saying because I care about what happens to the rest to this country, what happens to the people.
She wants to legalize psilocybin and MDMA for study, and that's probably because she likes it.
It's
but,
the whole
whatever.
premise of that
Yeah.
great show Ozark. Spoiler alert, I apologize, but the whole thing is like we're going to do all these evil things because ultimately we'll do good with it, right? And we just do evil thing after evil thing. But like one day, or it's the premise of The Godfather, right? One day we'll be legitimate. So in the meantime, I'm going to kill all of these people. But in the end, and I think that's sometimes how they think. They'll ultimately, when I have everything I need, all the power, all the wealth, I will do good. But to get there, I'm just going to have to kill several people, or I'm going to have to do fake photo shoots or bomb the system.
She does it we talk about her fake photo shoots.
More than
And
one.
people just believe it.
Yeah.
They just keep believing it. She keeps doing it. They keep believing it.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
The funny thing is that members of the House, besides the Speaker, I mean, they're really not very significant. No offense to them, but like anyone who's worked in D.C. in the like one member of Congress, and they're not supposed to be, right? They're not supposed to be powerful. That's the problem. Heck, you began the broadcast by saying, 2024. It's a long ways away, and we're already talking about it. We're already talking about it because everyone knows how damn powerful the president is. That's where I disagree with you on Roe. I don't want power in D.C. I want power in the states. I want way more influence of my governor and my mayor because I can have impact on them. Heck, I could run into the mayor of this town walking down the street. But you're never going to run into the member of Congress. It's actually kind of a joke,
right.
And you're never going to run into the president. We shouldn't want these powerful. AOC shouldn't be powerful. And the fact that she's like, but I want power to do good. Whoa, that's
I don't
exactly
think she
what
wants
the
power
founders.
to do good. Come on.
Well, in her mind, good.
No, I don't think so. I
No?
don't think she's.
You think she
thinking
just
that.
wants power?
Yeah, I don't think she thinks to herself like I'm a good guy at all. I don't think she thinks that much.
Possible.
I think she's just like more followers.
Well, she is the prime example of using the ends to justify the means. And I think based on her photo ops, we can really see, and based on the amount of power that she has, like she's a super social justice political figure, and she's not using that power for good. Like she had a small amount of power and she's not doing good with it. I see no reason to believe that if she was given a greater deal of power that she would do anything different with it. I don't know, though. I guess she could change her tune, but I have yet to see people really make introspective changes like that on this big of a platform.
Well, if I was Kirsten Gillibrand, who's the senator from New York, which is the next high, powerful position, I would be very much afraid. Remember, she ran for president in 2016. Remember, she had the Pride T-shirt, and there's that meme. Exactly, there's the meme of her pretending that she's really big on these issues. She got crushed in the primary, but she's done nothing since. It's been 6 years. I mean, she's a non-entity in the Senate. Yeah. And if you're Kirsten Gillibrand, you should be petrified to think AOC does have 14 million followers, and we're talking about her. And did you ever hear Kirsten Gillibrand's name even before?
Not,
yeah.
no.
But
you've heard of AOC.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I mean, she's going to keep climbing, but I just hope she climbs only within that hellhole I used to call home, which is New York.
Well,
no offense, New York. I still love you.
I think Colbert asked her if she was going to run for president.
Is she old enough to run for president?
She will be.
She will be.
She will be.
Got to be 35.
So she could run, because by the time the election, like a month before the election, she would be 35. So she could be campaigning all day and night.
I think what would happen, and maybe someone will tell her that politely, is she would have huge momentum. But ultimately, in the presidential, you got to start talking, and she would embarrass herself because she's really not very smart.
I
and
think
that's the
she should
sad
do
thing.
it.
She will. I think maybe someone, her advisors will tell her her flame will go out so poorly. It's like Kirsten Gillibrand or like Kamala. Although Kamala Harris became the vice president, her own state didn't vote for her because she was so bad in the debate.
Yeah.
Right. So you can run for president, but you will expose yourself.
When people critically ask themselves, like, who's qualified to be president of the United States, it's not going to be a bartender. You know, like, I appreciate the work that bartenders do. I really do. But when moms and dads are going to the ballot box and saying, who do I trust? Do I trust an accountant or do I trust a bartender to run this country? They're going to pick the accountant.
Yep.
I think you're right.
Yeah, or someone who at least has a deep understanding of the country and a deep appreciation of it. And the thing I dislike about her, which I dislike about the modern left right now as a whole, is they have a genuine disdain for this country. You know, they don't like the country. They think the country is racist, sexist, whatever. They don't celebrate. They don't have red, white, and blue, right? Like that New
Sour
Yorker
Patch Kids.
article.
Yeah,
they
Sour
don't.
Patch Kids.
They don't celebrate what America is. They think America needs to be deeply transformed.
You know what I love? I love that they hate this country. It's racist, white supremacist, evil, fascist, homophobic, but they desperately want more people to suffer along with them coming across the southern border. The left's motto: misery loves company. We hate this place, so you should come here. Is that it?
You're so right about them hating the country, though. In Canada, it's the same thing. If you see someone flying a Canadian flag, you know they're a conservative.
Right.
Yeah.
Which
Same
is like,
here.
what? Like, here, I don't know if it's the same. Is it?
It is. It's
Wow.
exactly
It's just,
the same.
if you fly an American flag, you're
Right. It's the same in the UK as well. It seems like everywhere
Yes.
throughout the West, there's
Yeah.
this mindset that, oh, we hate this because we've never known anything else. We've never actually known suffering or struggle. We've never lived in Russia. We've never lived in, any of these small countries that are really fighting, like Myanmar. Like, we haven't seen it, and we're just like, it's gross. We
Well,
don't
it's
like
still
it.
MAGA month, so
That's true. That's true.
gotta have that American flag as your profile picture.
It is. That's why it was so funny to see Prince Harry today at the
please.
UN.
LARP as an American.
Yeah, exactly. Talking about how we've sacrificed our and
Wishes.
democracy's under threat. And you want to say 6 greats, great grandfather caused all this to begin with, right? If he weren't a bad guy, we probably would still be part
not
of
his
you.
fault.
So it's direct line to your 6-back great grandfather that we're here to begin with. So just shut up, Harry.
Honestly.
You know, I mean, quite
Well,
frankly.
shut up, Megan. That's not Harry.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like I don't like crapping on these people, Prince Harry, AOC, because I feel like they're massively influential and powerful, and if we don't work with them, the entire system's going to get smeared.
Is he powerful, though? I looked at a picture of the United Nations when Harry was talking, and it was empty. I don't think people actually think that this guy's an intelligent, thoughtful person. I think they think he's someone that goes on Oprah and can get clicks, but when serious people need to listen, they don't.
Yeah, he's just he's like he walked away from the royal family, so he's an example of like freedom over power kind of person.
I don't know if he's a freedom over power person because he still seems to. Let me fix my camera a little bit. We're getting Daniel's hat. There you go. He still seems to really want a lot of that power that he willingly gave up by leaving the royal family. And his wife was an actress in America, so I feel like they were trying to be like Princess Diana or something. I think that's what was going on there. Very weird.
I
Don't
think
like it.
I think Ian is a plant to try and reconnect
He's a
us to the
plant.
crown and subvert
knew
the
it.
revolution.
I think this is
I want Canada off the British monarch's
Oh,
teat.
yeah.
Let's
Ian,
do it. How do
what do
we
you
start?
I think this is the
I'm
bigness
actually
of your
a fan
heart.
of the monarchy.
Oh my gosh.
I think that if we just drop tradition, I mean, I respect your guys' decisions as freedom-loving Americans to leave. I get it, but part of me, if you don't value that tradition, and like the Queen back then when you guys left, there was a reason why you did it, but now the Queen doesn't have any strong political power, especially not the Governor General that's the head of state of Canada. So just getting rid of it is just playing into the leftists' hands, who want to destroy everything that attaches us to our past.
I don't know if I agree. She has no power. I mean, she just doesn't use it,
Perhaps.
and so you might just think she's not using it as well. she might be on the phone call with Trudeau and she'll be like, do it. And he goes, yes, ma'am.
There's something in that
You-
red
you
box
could be
that she
right.
gets every day, right? She's looking at something.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I mean, think about it. The UK was facing an uprising. I remember, was it like 1800s or whatever? So they created the House of Commons. I'm not big on British history. And so, like, if you're a monarch and you're an absolute ruler and people are screaming off with their head, what's the smart way to deal with it? You say, okay, here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell them we're going to give them power and share it and be democratic and in parliament and all that stuff and create the House of Commons. And y'all will just do as you're told or we'll kill you.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens is the people are like, yay, we won. And the queen just keeps her mouth shut as she rules from the shadows.
The House of Commons was 1341.
All right, I was wrong about that.
I think that was King John. Now I could be wrong about that, but
And maybe it was the
was that
1300s.
when Richard
No, it
was
was after King John.
Yeah, that was
After King John?
But King John signed the Magna Carta, which was
1215.
basically saying,
Yeah.
the king has to have some rules.
Yeah.
And then every monarch from King John down has ceded an amount of power one way or another, from either letting parliament exist to not fighting a war against his own parliament, and then you get to where it is now. But I'm not saying that you're wrong.
What if the conspiracy is the queen is secretly the queen?
There's a lot of active investigations into what sort of power she exerts over the British Parliament. I don't think that really extends much to Canada at the time, but a lot of her influence. She doesn't ever not sign a bill that's put on her desk, but her staff are routinely reaching out to government as bills are being put forward and offering their advice, and their advice is often
Like Canada?
no, the British Parliament.
Yeah.
They're much more interested in that. I don't think she gives Canada much of a thought.
I bet she does.
I'm sure
I bet
she does
deep
all
down,
of them.
the queen is the queen.
It's British Columbia.
Dun, dun.
Like the idea is like we know she's a queen,
Indeed.
but we just don't think she does anything. And it's like, but like, why do you really think that? Like, it's not that far fetched to think the queen actually just makes a phone call and says, "Hey, we're doing this. You should do this too." And they say, "Okay."
Yeah,
You know what I
I
mean?
mean, it's Her Majesty's prisons. It's Her Majesty's armed forces.
Right.
Ships.
It's
yeah.
hers.
Yeah.
It's all hers.
Which is pretty cool. I mean, I'm glad we don't have her. Don't get me wrong. I think she's a lovely woman from a distance.
Yeah. All
But what
all
happens
the
after she's
Commonwealth
gone,
countries
right?
are woke.
Yeah.
I really think she's great. I think she's done a great job over the course of 70 years or whatever it's been. But I'm really fearful what comes after her. What happens with Prince Charles? What happens? I like Prince William a little bit more than Prince Charles, but Prince Charles is like right up there with the rest of the World Economic Forum. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to get into that.
I often tweet photos of Charles's many properties and the ones he will inherit, because also he cares deeply about the climate issue.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that
And
too.
it's wonderful to care about climate change from like your 30,000 acre estate with servants, and he's like, oh, this whole garden is organic. It's like, yes,
Well,
you're
let's-
400
I don't get
servants.
how we're
Let's talk
talking about
about
Prince
Meghan.
Charles,
Let's-
we're talking about Prince Charles inheriting the empire of Britain as if it's okay. It's not okay for a person to own that.
I've spoken like a true
you
American.
sound like a traitor.
Let's talk
to me.
about
Yeah.
let's talk about some good news that
Fortunately,
involves the royal family.
Let's do it.
We have a story from the Daily Mail. Has to do with Meghan Markle a little bit. Will going woke make Netflix broke? Streaming giant could see shares slump further after losing 970,000 subscribers as it was blasted over canned Meghan Markle cartoon and transgender pregnancy comedy. What?
Oh, weird.
Well, okay. Well, here's the good news. I mean, that I guess get woke or broke. Jeremy Boring of the Daily Wire tweets, Daily Wire just surpassed Disney to become the 6th largest podcast publisher in the country per Podtrac.
That's awesome.
Disney has a 100-year head start on us. It won't be enough as the years roll on and their war on their own audience continues.
for them.
This is one
So
of the
cool.
biggest get woke, go brokes yet.
Did you know that Netflix predicted they would lose 2 million subscribers? And they didn't. So good for them. But they already know they're going to be going broke. I don't know if it's because
From the Meghan Markle fallout?
I don't know.
or
I think it's
just-
partly because Stranger Things ended too.
Oh,
So
Is
that
that
was
an
part of it.
ad? Is that an organic ad?
That
No,
is
no,
a real
that's
Netflix show
It's
That was
an
the
ad,
show.
yeah, it was
Oh
not
my
organic.
about a man who
Yeah.
gets pregnant.
Yeah, it's weird.
As
Yeah.
they do.
But everyone was like freaking out, like they made a woke movie, and I'm like, bro,
Is it like an
Junior
anime or
wasn't
something?
woke.
Yeah.
Remember Junior with Arnold?
Oh, yeah.
He gets pregnant.
Oh, good Lord.
It's like, did you watch the trailer for this? It's not about being transgender. It's about a guy who gets pregnant. It's like Junior Part 2 or like a reboot or something.
So what's the plot there? How's
he
it
like
not woke?
finds out he got pregnant, and they're like, well, we don't know how it happened, but it did. And he's like, oh no, and then it's a guy who's pregnant.
Oh,
Where does
okay.
the baby come out?
No,
I think they mentioned
mentioned
that in the movie. No, his ass or something.
Oh gosh, that's great.
And his butt.
I'm pretty sure you would
Exciting.
die.
It's like kindergartners here.
Yeah, but look. Disney definitely get woke, go broke. They wanted to play the groomer game. They can win it.
Yeah.
Now Daily Wire is bigger. That's kind of crazy if you think about it. The Daily Wire is only, 7 years old?
Yeah, very young.
Like
Less
7.
than a decade, I think. Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
That's remarkable.
Here's what I see happening with the Daily Wire, Netflix, Disney. These big companies stood atop this massive shining hill. And everybody looked up at the shining people on the shining hill and said, I long to be atop there with you. And then one day, people started walking off the hill while screaming about weird stuff that made no sense. Daily Wire was like, guys, we can just walk up. Like, they're leaving. We'll walk right up.
Yeah.
They walked right up, and now they're standing there, and they're like, well, look at that. We're just here.
These people, like Walt Disney spent his whole life walking up the hill, grinding, getting to the top. And then once he's there, okay, now he's like, all right, son, would you like to take a helicopter up here with me? So, and the kids that never had to climb the mountain are on the top of the mountain. Mm-hmm. They don't understand the struggle. And people like Ben Shapiro and Jeremy Boring have climbed the mountain to get there. Those are the people we want on top of the mountain that know how to climb a mountain. The mountaineers.
That's right.
And the rest of it's just a skin suit. It's a corporate skin suit.
And it's the same as we were just talking about some of these politicians and the AOCs. There isn't a lot of respect for the patrimony, for what was built before I arrived. I forget the name of the current CEO of Disney, but he arrived with 100 years of this that other people built. And all you have to do in terms of the idea of patrimony and custody is you have to hold it, cherish it, granted try to expand it, but don't destroy it. And since they didn't have to climb that mountain, to use the analogy, since they didn't have to work hard to become members of Congress, they don't have a love for it. They don't have a respect. They don't have an awe of it. So they think it's easy to just destroy it. Pack the Supreme Court, put transgender cartoons on for 5-year-olds, and it's like, well, wait a second, this isn't yours. You're just the custodian of it. But nope, I'm going to destroy it.
Maybe it's just as simple. I mean, people don't want to work for someone else's project. They want to make their own.
Yeah. Well, they're making their own, all right, but they're destroying someone else's in the process.
We entered this era of meritocracy with the internet where people could make their own channels. One of the things we often run into with hiring is that it's like, oh, hey, we need this job and we need someone who's good at it. And it's really hard to find someone who's good at it because anyone who is good at it starts their own company instead of working for someone else's. So like we're in that era of meritocracy. The internet has democratized the process by which people can contract, get hired, or make their own thing. So who's left to work at Disney?
Yeah.
Woke weirdos? Nobody wants that. Meanwhile, people are launching their own projects, starting their own YouTube channels, or at least trying to do so.
Yeah, we talked about Maker Studios before the show. I was involved with these people, Lisa Nova, Ben Donovan, Dan Zapinski, like on we had the station, 2007 YouTube, all these really popular, Phil DeFranco, Dave Days. We all came together to form this like internet union of people, which was the station. Then became Maker Studios when it became a company. Then Disney bought Maker for $1 billion, and they thought they were getting all the talent, all the people that had been working through Maker. But when they bought Maker, all those people were like, yeah, you don't, they left. And then they realized we have the name Maker Studios, but we don't have the talent that made Maker Studios great.
This is the funny thing. Like, there's things on YouTube called multi-channel networks, which are mostly defunct these days. And they'd be like, sign with us, and we can get commercials put on your video so you make money, and we get a percentage of it. And then you'd be like, okay, well, I already have ads on my videos. Why should I sign with you? And they say, we'll protect you. We can talk with YouTube. It's a real advantage. And it'll be like X amount of time. They have no control over your content. They can't make you produce content. You're not signed to them with obligations on producing records or videos or anything like that. It's just literally let us rep your ad sales for you. Disney buys it. I remember when I was working at Fusion, there were people who genuinely thought, they were like, when we're gonna do this new project, why don't we pull up our Maker talent pool? And I'm like, what does that mean? And they were like, they pulled up this PDF showing all of these YouTubers on Maker, and they're like, we can get any one of these people. And I was like, sure, you can get literally any actor you want. You want to get Brad Pitt, just pay him. And they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, these people don't work for you. You bought nothing. You bought the rights to sell ads on their content, and you don't sell ads. You're a production house. And they were like, you mean we can't get these people to be in our shows? I'm like, well, yeah, if you ask them and pay them. But at that point, you might as well ask Brad Pitt or Tom Cruise. And they were like, huh? They genuinely thought buying the network was like buying
the talent.
A record label.
Yeah.
Like the record, like you were signed to this record label, you have to produce 2 albums. We want this album. No, like they could quit at any moment. You had no rights over any of it. So these companies have been completely insane from the get-go. And I think the big issue for the most part is two things. One, they think wokeness works because they don't care. And merit is driving people of real talent away.
Yeah.
I mean, why would someone want to work for Netflix?
No, and I wonder
you're
how
good at it.
And how many of these people have hired, all of the woke HR reps and the woke vice president of what's the acronym for diversity, inclusion,
DIE.
DIE, is that
Yeah,
what it is, right?
diversity, inclusion,
That if
equality.
you're the CEO, you just hear these people yammer at you all day, all day, all day. This is what we have to do. And ultimately you cave. But what's going to change them is stock prices. Look at, we were right before the show went on, we were looking at Disney stock. I remember where it was, where it went up to, where it is now. I mean, it's down almost 50%. That has to tell boards of directors to say, I don't care about your, if you think transgender
66.25% year to date.
if you think transgenderism is the most important thing going, the markets clearly show something else. And so you've got to go, because I don't care about transgender. I'm saying this if I'm a board member. I don't care about trans. I don't care about any of this crap. I care about making money. And right now you are not making us money, so you have to go. But Daily Wire is making money. So I want to know why they're making money and why we're not. Ultimately, that's what the board is going to be pushing.
Here's what it is. I had a friend who played in a band once. I have a friend who plays in a band. I don't really talk to a lot of my old friends anymore. But they played like weird experimental music. And they were like, we're going to make it big, man, because this is the future. And I was like, dude, no, it isn't. I was like, I understand the idea of doing experimental music, hoping you find something new that becomes popular. But like pop music is pretty cut and dry as to why people like it. I was like, look, right now, you're trying to sell a product to people, right? You want them to come buy it. So what's someone going to buy? Your experimental new spinach and cheese ice cream or chocolate? And they're like, well, spinach and cheese is gross. And I'm like, maybe. Have you ever tried it? No. Okay, well, maybe it's not gross. You don't know. You never tried it. How about matcha green tea? Hey, in Japan, they got a ton of that stuff. You've never tried it. You don't know if you'll like it or not. Sounds weird, though, right?
It's disgusting.
Exactly. You don't like
Not
it.
good.
So I said, why don't you guys,
I like it.
if you want to be big and famous, if that's your goal, why don't you make a product people will like? Now, you want to do something new and unique, so you're not just making chocolate ice cream. You're making like chocolate with salted caramel, like something. It's a little different, like salt in your ice cream. Yeah, but try it. It is pretty
really
good.
good, yeah.
This is what Netflix is at right now. So what happens is you got an ice cream company that makes delicious cookie dough ice cream, and everybody wants to buy it. But cookie dough ice cream is making people fat. So along comes these young people who are like, you're making people fat. Young people don't like that. What they like is fresh vegetables. You should make our ESG ice cream. Zucchini cucumber surprise. It's the right ice cream to have. And then all of a sudden, no one's buying it. But don't worry. You're not actually correct, but you are morally correct. And then the company implodes. And then what happens is the Daily Wire comes along and they start selling chocolate ice cream again because these people decided not to. You can't just think we're going to do this ESG stuff and it's going to work because we are on top. No. There's two mountains. There's ESG, which is a pile of garbage, and then there's Everest. And you're like, well, if we're on a pile of garbage, we're still on top? Yeah, sure, on a pile of garbage. So go for it. Leave the mountain behind. Leave room for Timcast.com, for Daily Wire, for other channels to start rising because you've walked away from it. That's what they're doing. Yeah. In the name of ESG and other garbage.
It really was in the 90s. You remember probably as similarly. They decided what people were going to like next. It was the marketing companies, NBC, Disney, CBS. They were like, okay, what's the next big thing? Well, frizzy hair and hairspray, whatever. Now it's democratized, I guess is a way to put it. And you can't keep controlling the mind. It doesn't work anymore. People are free. Their minds are free. Now people are it's become much more apparent what works and what doesn't.
But in your ice cream scenario, which is what Disney is, the company implodes because no one wants their ESG ice cream. But they still have production facilities, ice cream making machine, distribution networks that have value. So someone will swoop in and take it. I'm saying when it comes to Disney, their theme parks have value. Their studios have value. Someone's going to swoop in and be like, we can't lose the value of these things because you're running a crappy product.
I know you at home, and maybe all of you here, have been driving down the street one day and have seen an auto insurance company in a building that looks suspiciously like a Taco Bell. You've seen those, right? Or a Pizza Hut. And it'll be like, Family Insurance Center, and you're like, that's a Pizza Hut building. Because at some point, the Pizza Hut went out of business. Yeah. But there was a building there, and someone was like, we can use it, we'll take it. It's cheaper than building one. You see, all over Chicago, you see, like, it's obviously a Taco Bell, but it was turned into something else. And you're like, that's kind of funny. That's what we're going to see with Disney. Yeah, they got the ice cream machines, but they're just cranking out broccoli and cheese ice cream. I mean, broccoli and cheese is good, but as ice cream, ooh, I don't know, right?
But they're also pumping out broccoli and cheese ice cream, but it says chocolate on the label.
Right.
Like Thor
lying.
isn't. It's not. All these Marvel movies are like. You can call it whatever, but it's just a crappy.
Well, like
it's junk.
That's a little too much. Like Thor movie was weird, but it was Thor, but it was like kind of not Thor because they just made it wacky and wild, and it was like sorbet with the colors.
Yeah, they could have called him Gore and made him have like an orange helmet.
Gore was the
instead.
bad guy.
Oh, okay. Then Lore, they could have called him Lore, and it would have been like a silver helmet.
Well,
with
it's
the
a skin
same
suit. It's a skin suit. So Disney's got the facilities to produce all this stuff. When eventually they go out of business, like Blockbuster, all those machines will be lying around, and people will be like, "How much for that $10,000 camera? $20? I'll take it."
Well, there is some great statistic. I'm sure we can pull it up. But of the 100 top companies in the year 1900, I think only 1 or 2 are still around.
Wow.
So companies do rise and fall, right? I mean, Standard Oil is gone. General Electric it's still around, but it's not one of the top 100.
Yeah, but I bet it's like they all consolidate into one company.
That's what's happening with the banks. They're consolidating.
Yeah.
It was all steel. Isn't that crazy?
So Disney probably, odds are it's not going to last 100 years.
You think it'll get bought by
more.
BlackRock?
Yeah.
Everything will be bought by
Everything
BlackRock.
eventually,
I wonder
yeah.
if BlackRock's going to buy an
Yeah.
entertainment
Well,
company.
The Dutch farmers are being bought right now by BlackRock.
What's that story? Oh, we should talk about.
Or
this
they're
Dutch
trying to
farmer
buy
thing.
them.
We should talk
I
about
mean,
Dutch
some
farmers.
of these are still around. What? Standard Oil, Westinghouse, Ford, Union Carbide, General Electric, DuPont, Standard Oil, AT&T.
Standard Oil, you said twice. How's that
Yeah,
work?
but they're not sold like the top 100.
Oh yeah, it's in there twice. It is. Standard Oil NJ, Standard Oil NY.
Oh, different
New
states,
Jersey, New York.
yeah.
Standard Oil is Rockefeller's oil company that got broke up. It
It's
was
the
basically
crazy
the
thing.
first a monopoly court case where they developed antitrust to stop Rockefeller.
All the top
Interesting.
companies are manufacturing and resources.
And
Now what are the
anymore.
top companies?
We sent that all to China.
That's right.
Thank goodness.
It'll be weird, like, and they're not American either, which is a little bit confusing. Monsanto got bought by Bayer. Bayer's
General
one of
Motors.
them.
Sears. They have Sears on this list, but I think it's unfair to
Wow.
say they still exist because
I don't
Sears
think they do.
basically does
What a
not
shell.
exist.
Dow. How? Why? That company Dow.
Yeah.
Dow
Dow
Chemical. And they call it the Dow Industrial Average, as if Dow, the company, has some sort of
Dow
influence.
Jones? Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
Dow Jones.
But
But
it's
isn't
just the same.
Isn't that just an
Same
acronym
guy.
or something?
I guess I would think it's an
I'm gonna look it
acronym.
up. Yeah, I'm curious.
Yeah.
It's the same corporate name, and Dow's like they make high fructose. I mean, they make like
I think you need to Google that
Crazy
before you say
stuff.
something like that because you may just be wrong.
yeah, they might just be
Sometimes
happen
people
to
have
be
the
a
same
happy
name.
coincidence.
Oh, yeah,
You never
true.
know. Like just because my name's Tim Pool doesn't mean I'm anything to do with him. But I did change my name to Tim Pool, by the
Well,
way.
that's what cracks me up about when you find like this healthy bar made by this company, which is owned by Coca-Cola, which is owned by, and it's like, so it's really not like this. I mean, maybe the bar itself is healthy when you're like, this is some local organic. It's like, nah, it's not. It's all made in a factory by
Dow Jones, or more precisely, Dow Jones and Company, is one of the world's largest business and financial news companies.
Yeah, this is Dow Jones Industrial Average. It's the same thing. So the
Created by Charles Dow.
Dow Jones. So he basically has co-opted the the economy by creating this industrial average nonsense and naming it after his own corporation. Dow's insidious.
Is Dow? Dow
Dow.
Chemical is Dow Jones?
Dow
I don't
Jones.
Yeah. No, he's not. Herbert Henry Dow created Dow Chemical, and Charles Dow created the Dow Jones.
I mean,
Might be
they
like
may-
Me and you were wrong.
Are they
something.
brothers?
Yeah,
They may
might
be
related.
cousins.
Yeah.
Maybe. I
Not
don't
the
know.
same person though.
Maybe they were secretly married and no one knew about it.
Yeah, what were their
Like
names again?
Ilhan and her brother.
Yeah, right.
Henry Dow. You say one of the guys' names?
Henry, yeah.
Henry Dow, and then the other guy.
All I know is
Herbert
that they
Henry
all
Dow.
used to own great mansions.
They're
along
from
Fifth
very
Avenue.
different places, so I don't think they're related. One's from Canada and Belleville, Canada West, and Charles Dow is from Sterling.
I don't know.
Connecticut.
Are you related to
don't
the guy
know?
I
from?
don't
Okay,
know.
I was going to say.
Okay.
This
All
might be
Canadians are
fake
related.
news. You'd
Yeah.
think I would have met him.
Yeah.
It's
Of
nice
course,
when you
yeah.
can like divest your responsibility by having like a distant family member do it for you, or your son.
Yeah.
You know, Joe Biden, Hunter Biden,
This is growing into quite the conspiracy.
That's great.
Yeah.
Just go with it.
Herbert Henry Dow, and Charles Dow.
Yeah.
How far back does
How
it go?
far back
the
does the
Dows.
conspiracy go? Dun dun dun.
Let's talk about this story.
Oh, this story's
This is
crazy.
stupid.
Yeah, so dumb.
Family of girls seemingly snubbed at Sesame Place hires lawyer, considers lawsuit.
What?
So it's a slow news day and the country's collapsing. So how about this story? Rosita, is that the name of the weird, stupid Muppet? Rosita.
Oh, the green one.
Rosita was walking past two little black girls who waved and reached out their arms, and Rosita waved no. And then everyone erupted on Twitter. Like Ben Crump, didn't he tweet like you're racist or something?
I think so. Yeah, everybody was tweeting about it.
Part of me right now wants to just like turn this off and go play Spelunky or something.
Honestly.
We live in such a stupid
Yeah.
It's the worst
stupid
timeline.
place.
It is entertaining.
Yeah.
I like it. At first, I was like, that seems kind of rude. Why did she do that? But then I was looking at what she did before. She did the same thing to someone else. She was like, she put her
Here,
hand
let's
up.
play
She's
the
like,
video.
No, don't give
Here-
me.
here's
don't
the-
give
So
me-
does she not touch children or
She doesn't
something?
give hugs. She just high
So
fives.
look, they're like, we want
Oh.
hugs. She's giving
Yeah.
high fives. Like,
Yeah.
no, no,
She's
no.
like, nope. High five.
No, no,
yeah,
no.
yeah. Shakes
Uh-uh.
her hand.
Wait,
Yeah.
so the woke
Aw.
crowd is now mad
I feel bad
that
for those
people
little
aren't
girls. You
touching
see her
children?
face.
I mean, she should have high-fived, or it should have
Look at her
high-fived.
face. She's like,
but-
I
they wanted hugs.
wanted a
though.
hug.
But
Yeah.
they don't
Like,
hug children.
They don't hug
Yo.
anybody. Yeah.
I'm-
Because
you
they'll
see
get
from the
sued
other
if they hug them. They'll
They
get
can't
sued.
slow down. They're like
Ah,
walking.
true.
in
Oh, it's on a
parade.
parade.
Yeah. It's
And then everyone would want to hug, and you can't stop.
Yeah, you
and,
can't stop.
You know, and then you get diseases from COVID or whatever.
That's right.
But
Cooties.
I feel bad. Like they just wanted a hug. It's kind of sad. But they went nuts saying it was racist.
Mm-hmm.
This is so crazy, man. This is where we're at right now. Where's you know what we need? We need Norm Macdonald back.
Yeah. He's great. I'm just kidding.
We just need his commentary on everything.
He's so
He'd
funny.
be like, "What?
Well, do large green monsters have racial bias towards
Yes.
young black girls? I don't know. Like
I guess
what?
they do.
I don't have a lot of familiarity with. What is Rosita? What is it?
No idea.
Is it a bear?
It's a puppet.
It's a puppet.
I have
Oh
no
wait,
idea.
then she says she hugged the little white girl next to us.
What?
When I complained, he looked at me like I'm crazy. So is that it?
I would need to see evidence of
Yeah.
that.
Picture didn't
Yeah.
happen.
Sesame
Makes it
Place said the
happen.
performer wearing the Rosita costume gestured no several times in the video, not at the children, but rather in response to multiple requests for someone in the crowd who asked Rosita to hold their child for a photo, which is not permitted.
Can't stop.
That's not what it
Slow
looks
down.
like.
Yeah, go back. She says, no. She shakes her
Oh,
finger.
that's right.
Yeah,
The head looks down, and the mouth is where the eyes are, right?
I think so. I don't know.
You're saying no to the kids. They're lying.
That's sad. Yeah.
I don't know,
I agree
maybe-
it's sad.
But like you can't see on video the Rosita hugging a white kid or whatever. But I don't know. Maybe that happened.
I think that's on Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah.
That video.
Yeah, we should get into it for sure.
I've long suspected Sesame Street of being overtly racist, and this just confirms what we've already known, that Muppet monsters just plain don't like brown people, and that's wrong.
I
I
don't
mean,
why
the
not.
whole premise of Sesame Street from the beginning was multiracial. Like literally, like from like when it was started in like '72 or something. Was what made it so groundbreaking. Is that like in the well, first of all, it took place like in the Bronx on a stoop, right, or like in Brooklyn. And it was in an urban area, and everyone was multiracial from like the very first episode.
Remember when they did the first homeless Muppet,
Oh, yeah.
and then everyone was like, "Yo, Oscar
What
the
about
Grouch
the
be living in a trash can, dude."
Thing, yeah.
Now that trash can counts as a house.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. This is just the absurdity that we live in. It's like you see these videos, that video out of Portland where the two people are fighting outside of their cars, and the white woman's like, "You're mad about your oppression. You're not mad at me." And he's like, "What? Get out of my face, you colonizer!"
Oh, wow.
And I'm just
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
love
"That's
it.
amazing."
I'm here for it.
It's fun watching them fight with each other.
It's fun,
It
but it
is.
kind of
Yeah.
feels like we've been Yuri Bezmenov. You know what I mean?
I think
They've
we
planted
have.
the seeds of discord, and now people of fractured psyches are fighting with each other over their nonsense.
Yeah.
Well, then you have to ask the question, would this have happened anyway? Is this like a result of human nature? I personally think it's a result of having too much free time, too much money. And these are like blessings that have been taken to an extreme. Like now we have nothing to do. We're bored. We have no way to feel special other than being victims, which
Yeah.
is like a terrible place for a society to be in. And we're just too lucky for our own good, I think.
We celebrate victimhood.
We do.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's why they're trying to sue this little green monster. That's so dumb. And they're clearly just looking for victimhood.
Yeah.
They lack it, and they want it to be because of race. They have nothing else, which is really sad.
It is.
know.
It is, and I agree with you. This comes as the result of not having real problems in your life. It's a lot like, again, climate change.
Yeah.
Right, like these are the causes of privilege. If the worst thing that happens to you today is that you think your child was snubbed by a fake green monster, then life's not too bad,
Life's great.
right?
Yeah.
Well, that's why they're so angry, because
Yeah.
it is the worst things ever happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Future's
That's a
going to
good
be
point.
nuts. You know, there's going to be like humans are going to be big balls of fat and jelly sitting in hover chairs. They're going to have food tubes where they can snap their fingers and have literally anything. They're going to be literally gargling ice cream with like vitamins in it. And then one day there's going to be a small burp in the, like just the two burps, and they'll start screaming and freaking out because the burp was the worst thing they ever experienced.
I have to say, when they were talking about dystopias, I had no idea that our dystopia was going to be like WALL-E. That is the closest thing to the way it's actually going to be that I've ever seen. We need something like WALL-E to bumble through our freaking wheelchairs and throw us all off
But
course.
the people in WALL-E were chill.
Yeah,
They were just floating around like whatever. That was way off.
Yeah.
Soft people floating around in chairs would be super angry about just the stupidest nonsense ever. They'd be like, they'd get their slushy or whatever from the robot, and they'd look at it, and it would be like a millimeter less than they wanted, and they'd go, ah! Then they would start crying and say they were attacked, and it's violence.
I was murdered.
I was murdered.
Yeah.
That's right.
Except all the food is really made from bugs.
Yeah.
And it's just
Yeah.
got
Crickets.
flavorings. It's got Monsanto flavorings to taste like steak or to taste like chicken or beef.
Well, that's
but it's
where
all
we're
just
headed.
made of insects.
That is where we're headed.
Yeah.
It is.
So why don't you eat the bugs, Daniel? You have a farm, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, you have a farm.
I know certain cultures do eat them. I don't I don't want to eat bugs. I'm not saying you can't.
Why not?
eat
Are you
bugs.
racist?
I'm like that green monster.
Yeah, how dare you?
Don't
No,
you know that
but-
80% of the world eats bugs?
Yeah, like I said, a lot of
Is that
cultures
true?
do eat bugs.
Yeah.
Is that
I don't know.
is that a real
But they're
statistic?
not eating bugs because they want to. It's because
Oh.
they're poor.
Yeah,
Yeah, like
Yeah.
wealthy people don't eat bugs. They eat cows.
You're right.
don't eat bugs.
And
They
they
eat
eat
them
the
as
best-
novelty.
They eat the best part of the cow.
Yeah.
They do. Celebrities are like, I'll try a chocolate-covered cricket. Woo, is that what you eat?
Yeah, they do. It's
Yeah.
it's something novel, but no. But I think when it comes to food and what you're doing and highlighting with the Dutch farmers and what I do in the energy space, it's very much related. And food insecurity is a growing problem. And holy crap, we haven't even started to eat this year's food because we're still growing it, so we don't even know what prices are going to cost. I get asked all
it's
the
gonna
time
be a
about
huge
gas
shortage.
prices, but we haven't harvested this year's wheat yet. And where
If
do
there's
we
any to harvest,
exactly?
if there's any fuel to harvest what little we do have,
I know.
that's going to be fun, huh?
So the real food prices are bad now, but the real kick is not going to come until October, November.
Yeah, but
Wait till
look.
the fertilizer shortages kick in.
Yeah.
Well, they already
And
did. They already did.
I think
It's
there will be.
earlier
I
this
think
year.
it'll be a
Next year.
continual crisis.
Next year's going to be
year's
worse.
harvest.
Because Russia's
sure.
not going to stop. Like the Russia-Ukraine stuff is not going to stop. But I got to say, I'm very frustrated with you guys. Look, no one cares about food and gas. They care about racist
Yeah.
Muppets.
And abortion.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
abortion.
Yeah, duh.
That's
Racist Muppets getting abortions.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, wow.
That's something Netflix
No,
should
no.
do like a
Sectional,
documentary.
Racist
Yeah.
Muppets stopping abortions.
Oh,
Yeah.
snap.
That's
They're
the problem.
evil.
Can
Yeah.
racist Muppet men's get abortions? Racist male Muppets get abortions?
Elmo
only-
gets an abortion.
Elmo.
Gosh.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, that's the new doll.
Oh, no.
Is Elmo female?
Oh, sure. Why not?
What is Elmo?
What does it matter?
Elmo's a dude,
What-
right?
I think Elmo
Yeah,
is
Elmo's
a
a guy.
boy.
What?
I mean, Elmo is a boy's name, isn't it? Saint Elmo.
Yeah.
Saint Elmo's fire.
But men can give birth now, Daniel.
That's true.
Come on,
That's
don't
true.
Be so closed-minded. Of course, he's.
That's
gonna
like
be the one
Tickle
who
Me
gets
Elmo,
abortion.
Abort Me Elmo, the
my
new
God.
doll.
I was going to say it. I didn't want to.
Don't say it.
The new
Keean.
doll.
How far out do you think we are from children's dolls that can get abortions?
2 months.
That's a tough Barbie.
Didn't they do?
mean-
Didn't they do like a doll that menstruates or something?
Pregnant male Barbie, I believe.
Pregnant male
I
Barbie.
believe. Not sure. You guys can fact check me on that. I'm gonna look it up
Pregnant
myself.
male
Yeah.
Barbie.
Ooh.
Disturbing.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, yeah.
Frumpy Barbie.
I mean,
obviously.
it's all part of grooming kids, right? They got to. Someone just banned groomer. What platform? It wasn't.
Reddit.
It
Reddit?
wasn't. That story was fake news.
Oh, it was. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
what actually happened was that a single subreddit said, "Hey, stop doing this," and that
And
was
then-
it.
Well,
And
Pink
then-
News wrote an article about it.
And then Pink News
Yeah.
is like claimed that it was groomer was calling all gay people pedophiles or
What?
something. Like,
Yeah.
no, just you, I guess.
Just you.
yeah, that's
Just
weird.
you.
Yeah, they said that it's groomer is an anti-LGBTQ slur, and I'm like, no, it isn't.
No one thought that.
Just the groomers.
What the heck?
But like the joke I made the other day, or the point was, there's like a creepy guy looking at kids, licking his lips, and then you're like, you point to him and you're like, hey, you groomer, you get out of here. And then he walks over next to the group of gay guys and goes, hey, he's making fun of us. And it's like, no, I'm not making fun of them. I'm telling you to get out of here. Those guys are all right. They're minding their own business. I don't care.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Pregnant Ken is satire, just for the record.
Oh,
but
there's no
I would
Pregnant
put it
Ken.
at like 6 months out. I definitely see that happening.
It does
there.
sound like a Babylon Bee.
Yeah, it does.
toy.
But the whole world sounds like a Babylon Bee
That's
article
true.
at this point, to be fair.
But you raise a great point, though, like about what we are talking about, energy issues, food issues. But we do love to get distracted by what's the Bennifer got married. That
Oh,
was
yeah,
I
that's
woke
right.
up the other morning, and usually one of the first things I do, which is a terrible habit, you look at what happened while I was asleep. Pulled up my phone, first 5 stories were all about Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez getting married, and you're like, really, something else must have happened last night.
Well, here's the reality. Edward Snowden says we are all going to eat crickets.
Yeah, he had an interesting
People
tweet.
are like, I'm not going to eat the crickets. Oh, you're going to eat the crickets, brother. They're going to be everywhere. They're going to put them in Hot Pockets. Your kids are going to be like, Mom, I want the pizza crickets.
He's not wrong.
I saw this conspiracy theory, if you can call it that. I don't know. They said, in order to get people to eat crickets, you got to make them hungry first.
True
Because if
that.
people are hungry, they will eat anything. So now we're looking at these food shortages. We're looking at what's going on with the Dutch farmers. Dutch farmers being told not to farm. At the same time, they're telling us a food shortage is coming. How does that make sense?
Yeah.
It doesn't. So we are going to all starve. Maybe not us here, and many at home might not if they bought their emergency food.
Oh, that's right.
But y'all are going to be eating crickets. You know why? He's right about the Hot Pockets. There's already a company in Canada. Have you seen this?
The President's Choice.
What, they put crickets in it?
They sell bags of crickets.
No. I'm talking about there's a chip company that puts cricket into their snacks so that you're
Added
like
protein.
inching your way there and then extra crunch.
Ah,
So imagine you get they're like Cheeto Puffs, and you eat a Cheeto Puff and it's made of corn and cheese and stuff. You're like, this is good. So they mix in maybe like 5% cricket, added protein, and then you're like, this is good. You do that for a year or two, and you keep increasing the level of cricket in the food, and then
like-
eventually
You do that with
everybody's eating
cattle
cricket.
and like barley and molasses. You just increase the ration until they're able to eat it.
it's eating.
They're going to
without
call it
having-
something else.
Yeah.
They're not going to call it cricket. They're going to call it like
Escargot.
Escargot,
It's
yeah.
like you're
no,
eating
it's going
snails,
to
but
it's going to be
escargot.
called like arachne protein or something. You know, like, and it's, you're eating spiders or whatever.
It's chitin. So
There's
they'll
gonna
call
be a
it something to do
whole-
with
Yeah,
chitin.
chitin.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
going to be a whole
yeah,
marketing
yeah.
campaign about how you eat lobsters. So
Yeah,
why
exactly.
would you not
These
eat
are just
this?
the
It's
crickets of the
same-
sea.
I
they're
don't
just
think.
small.
Look, people ate high fructose corn syrup and never knew what it was. No one came to them one day and said, "We're putting this in your food." They just started eating it, and they're like, "Oh." So
pretty good.
chitin, there you go.
Yeah.
You're gonna be ordering a burger, and it's gonna be like 87% pure beef with extra chitin, and you're gonna go, "I don't know," and you're eating cricket.
Well, yeah, eat carrageenan, which is in ice cream. That's actually from seaweed, and it gives ice cream like its shape. It helps it keep its shape after it melts a little bit, which is really interesting. If you don't know that about the fact that seaweed is in ice cream, kind of gross. Not really. I don't know.
There
If
you
they
go,
put-
grillis. They're gonna call it grillis.
There you go. Yeah, depending on what they use.
Cricket, juvenile
arthropods.
grillis campestris.
Aw.
And it's going to be like the ingredients of your chips. It's going to be like whole corn,
Yeah.
cheese enzymes, grillis protein, and you're going to be like, oh,
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
and you're not going to think twice about eating the crickets.
Yep.
Big banner on the side now with 5% more grillis.
That's
You're
right.
Like, oh boy.
I mean, grillis sounds pretty good, right? Grill us.
Grilled food, yeah.
Yeah, if you like, have you tried grilled grillis? You're going to be like, what's grillis? It's like a grill thing. It's like a thing they do in the grills, man. Like, what I ordered cheeseburgers and it was 90% beef, 10% grillis. What's that? Oh, it's for grilling.
Uh-huh,
And they'll do commercials
Yeah.
where they're like Grills Burger. I got a commercial for Kelp Burger. Not good.
Gross.
Yeah, not good.
Ew.
I like like mushroom and black bean
I like
mixes
seaweed.
with vegetables and stuff.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Seaweed. But they try and do all sorts of stuff. But ladies and gentlemen, y'all going to be eating the crickets whether you want to or not. You will not be able to hide.
Yeah, in
Until there's a-
Canada, President's Choice is selling a PC cricket protein bar. Grillions, they call it.
Grillions. We were right.
I was right. Oh
We
my
were right.
God.
Holy
No
crap.
way.
That's amazing.
I just DM'd it to you on Twitter.
That's awesome.
Grillions.
That's incredible.
How do you spell it?
GRILLONS.
So they slightly altered it.
That's great.
That's insane.
And this is on their website. I thought this maybe it was
Grill-ons. Yeah, grill-ons.
grill-ons.
Cricket grill-ons.
It's Grill-ons.
Yeah.
PC cricket protein bar.
Yeah. Chocolate. Yummy. Who wants to try it?
PC Cricket from Nutritionix.
Dun, dun, dun.
Cricket Grillins powder. I was close because the cricket was Grillis campestris or
Hey,
whatever
it's only
the word
19
is.
90 calories. Yeah.
Cricket
See,
doesn't taste
you're already
good.
finding the advantages.
Not
of it.
only does it taste great, it's healthy
It's
for you.
low in
No, it
calories.
doesn't taste good at
It
all.
doesn't taste great.
Cricket doesn't. So we ordered cricket powder, and then Ian made a bread with it,
Oh,
and
Gross.
it's really astringent, is the way they describe
Sour?
the flavor. It's like it's sour and bitter.
Bitter, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
If you,
Sour and
if you
bitter.
season it, I think it'll be fine.
put
If
on
put
chips?
some salt.
Yeah,
and
but
maybe
you had to
some
you
vinegar.
diluted it. You did like half cricket, half flour.
It was too much cricket powder. Too
Yeah.
much cricket.
Crickety.
Yeah, if I'd done more wheat
Any
flour mixed
cricket
with a little
powder
bit of
is
cricket
too
powder.
much
I
cricket
agree.
powder.
So
I think I'm okay with cricket. I'm not too worried. You know, people eat, like you said, lobsters. They eat
Arthropods.
birds. They eat
What's
cows,
next? What's
like,
next? What
Fir-
would you?
First guy to ever eat an oyster you
Spiders.
knew was crazy.
Right, that's
Someone looked
gross.
at that thing and opened it and they were like, eat it. Like, I'm not eating it. I
Yeah.
mean, but I love oysters.
I don't know,
was
man.
a
I bet
dare.
early humans ate random stuff anyway.
That's true.
Yeah.
They were like, well, I'm dying. I'll eat this rock. It's better
Eat
than
this
nothing.
rock, yeah.
Eat this bark. You know, I like this a joke. It's like every time you eat mushrooms, you need to give thanks to every human who tried mushrooms so you knew
Died.
which one was safe to eat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they died.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll try it.
Yeah.
But I mean, up until the Industrial Revolution, Dutch farmers and Power of the Future, the majority of the world was hungry all the time. I mean, hunger drove war, it drove economies. I mean, kings were hungry. Everyone was hungry.
Yes.
People lived in
but
hunger.
A lot of the wars were fought over just making food taste better.
Yeah, true.
Peppercorn.
Absolutely.
They were like, that ship's carrying peppercorn, fire!
Attack it. Yeah.
Yeah, seize the peppercorn, and they'd bring it to the king, and he'd be like, "Oh."
And-
now we just have it on like every diner table. Like
Oh,
it's
exactly.
nothing.
They don't care.
And but for the miracles of the fossil fuel industry and modern technology, and we can argue at the 30,000-foot level, should we use fossil fuels in the cultivation of our agriculture? I'll have that conversation. Should we? But we do. And yet these people, as I'm not have to explain to you, you know better than I do, but the World Economic Forum and the Klaus Schwabs and the John Kerrys are like, we shouldn't. And Holland's going to lead the way, or Sri Lanka's going to lead the way, and all these countries. And now is all of a sudden it's like, well, wait a second. But we do use, although Sri Lanka more than Netherlands. Netherlands is more of a land seizure, right? But Sri Lanka, well, we're not going to use these anymore. Well, now we're in famine. And we, the John Kerrys, the Klaus Schwabs from 7,000, 15,000 miles away, look at it and say, boy, this is terrible. What's happening over there? But if you're a Sri Lankan and you're in true famine,
Yeah.
how did your experiment go?
Because Klaus Schwab is not going to stop eating steaks.
No,
He's not going to be the
eating crickets.
one putting crickets on his hamburgers.
Well, how old is that guy anyway?
Ancient.
Yeah, he's probably like, I only have
Cool.
like 3 years left anyway, so I will eat filet mignon until then.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe I was told someone said they liked porterhouse better than tenderloin. I'm like, that doesn't make
dare
sense to me.
you.
But it's true, people do. I look at a menu and I'm like, why have any other option? Because some people
Okay.
just like T-bones or
I like New York
You know,
strip. There you go.
strip steak. I
Said
mean, it's
it.
good, but maybe it's a cost thing. Maybe you don't want to spend the money on tenderloin.
I don't know.
That's cow.
Why don't they?
by the
Why
way.
don't they just feed the cow
That's
crickets?
cow.
There you go.
That's cow, by
yeah.
the way.
Why don't we feed
People
our
are like,
food
I eat
crickets?
pork. Well, you eat pig. Just
Yeah.
say it. Call
Yeah.
it pig.
Cow.
I'm eating pig tonight. Yeah,
I
I'm
know
gonna eat some
cow.
cow tonight.
Crickets, man. I have no personal issue with eating bugs. I have an issue with people being forced to eat bugs or tricked into eating bugs.
Or anything.
While
Yeah.
they still eat steak.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yes.
It's going to be like V for Vendetta.
Yes.
When she's like, is this real butter? Oh, I've never had this since I was a child. How did you get it? And he's like, I stole it from Chancellor Sutler's personal supply cart or whatever.
But it's also not just like them being tricked into eating crickets. It's them being forced to eat crickets because that is the only food that's been made available to them. They lose out on the choice, and over time, I think you're right about them putting in pizza pockets. It's like beef is not going to be affordable to a middle class family, much less anyone below. And then the response is, well, we have these cheap crickets here. You can feed your kids. You can feed a family of 6 with these. So, whether it's them knowing it or not, just the fact
Why
that
crickets, though? Aren't there better tasting bugs? I'm sure roly-polies taste better than crickets.
Are you gonna
Pill
try
bugs, for those who don't live in Chicago, or I don't know. You guys call them roly-polies
Yeah.
or
I
pill
have
bugs?
no idea what the
Oh
roly
yeah,
poly is.
potato
like a
bugs. I
cartoon.
think I called them.
them? No. Potato bugs are different.
Potato
Oh.
bugs. Pill
yeah,
bug.
Yeah.
Maybe crickets don't have anything in them that is inherently dangerous. I don't
What about
know. Certain
grasshoppers?
bugs, slugs are deadly. Don't ever eat a slug.
Oh, yeah, I heard the story about the guy who ate it off the ground as a dare and then
Oh.
died.
Slug, yeah. So there are certain bugs you can eat, but maybe crickets are totally clean. I don't know.
Escargot's pretty good.
I don't know. One of the projects for Timcast.com, as you guys expand, is you need to have like a fun press accountability component where you go up to reporters who wrote glowing stories about the future, who were proven categorically wrong, and ask where they are. Like the people who wrote about Sri Lanka. 2025 will be the cleanest country or the richest country in the world per
Yeah.
capita. Or,
Well-
the Paul Krugmans who were like, the internet's
Oh,
going to be
gosh.
gone by the year 2000. Or
worst.
just, I mean, the press, when it comes to climate issues, food issues, socialism issues, they always write these glowing reports about how great things are going to be in 3 years. Everything falls to pot. And then they're like, ho-hum, news story.
Yeah. Well, I think it was Tucker that was bringing up that like Myanmar, I believe it is. Sri Lanka. I'm sorry.
Sri Lanka,
They're the
yeah.
ones who had the best ESG scores in the world, followed by like South Africa. I'm like, these places are not doing well, so I don't know what a high ESG score looks like, but it is not good for the people who
I have to find this story from the guy. I know I texted it to myself because it was so great, but this was the guy who wrote the story about how Sri Lanka is going to be the greatest country in the world in a couple of years. And here it is, Jason Hickel. Hey, Jason, hope you're listening. Jason's got 200,000 plus followers on social media. He's a professor. He's got lots of things in his professor of ICTA, UAB, blah, blah, blah. But he wrote the story about, Sri Lanka, what's going to be the great, staggering, a whole thread about how great Sri Lanka is going to be when they adopted all this ESG stuff. And you want to go find Jason Hickel and say, Jason, where are you now? Because you know what? There's a Sri Lankan dad who's feeding his kid crickets because they're friggin' starving to death.
They're probably licking rocks.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah, it's not even
Are you
crickets.
good?
It's
How are things for the Jason Hickel household?
Going there, yeah.
You know, no compunction, no sense of, boy, we really like took a turd in the bed with this one. They just move on.
You know what, though, man? It's all the big cities. And after these past several years of telling people to get away from cities, at a certain point, it's just like, I don't know what else to do for you.
Yeah.
Look, you can't grow food. You can't grow enough food to feed your family in the city. You move out of the cities, you move to the middle of nowhere, you learn how to take care of yourself, and you can start creating your own food. So, for instance, like for breakfast, I eat eggs straight from my own chicken's butt. Granted, we give the chickens feed, but there's also the bug technique where you put the wood on the ground, and then every morning you lift the wood up and move it, and the chickens run over and eat all the bugs. You let the chickens graze in the grass and eat the bugs all day and the berries, and then they poop out the eggs for you. Then in the winter, you slowly run out of chickens as you eat the chickens.
Oh,
But we got a
that's how it
ton. We got
works.
like 30 or something out there now. It's crazy. And then we have we started Cocktown. I don't know if we told you. We got too many roosters.
Yes.
Well, it means rooster.
What you guys are laughing at?
Uh-huh.
What
Yeah,
the heck?
that's
Grow
not,
up.
not a laughing
No,
matter.
no, it's not.
Not a laughing matter.
We got
I
too many
apologize
roosters,
unreservedly.
and the roosters can't live together with girls.
Yeah.
So we moved.
Just
all-
don't call it cocktown.com because, well, you can.
That's a good name for a website.
But
It is a
please
good name
put
for a
that on the-
website. It may be taken already. It
might
may
be
already
taken
be
already.
taken.
Check it
That
out.
was,
Don't
props to
Google
Richie
it right
McGinnis.
now,
Yes,
everyone.
Google it right now.
Cocktown.
No, don't do it, Ian.
No, Ian's doing it.
I'm not
no.
going to
Oh
cocktown.com.
my gosh.
It exists.
Okay.
There you
yep,
go.
Strictly
yep.
for adults only.
Yeah,
There
that's
you
right.
go. That's
Yeah,
not
there-
Show me
chickens.
your.
Yeah. Okay.
.com.
Yeah.
Yo,
there
we
you go.
we have all the berries out here. We had wild black raspberry, and it's such a weak plant. It got strangled out by the surrounding plants, and it was like, it's a bummer. The wine raspberries take over everything, and they're everywhere, and they're delicious. But it's crazy moving out of the city, and now it's like maybe 5%, or even actually not even. I think maybe around like 20 or 30% of the food I eat probably comes from my own source. Like, and it's the chickens. I eat their eggs for the most part. It's like breakfast. It's their eggs.
Yeah.
And then I have dinner. So I say like 20% because it's just the eggs, and then I'll have dinner later, and the dinner is more substantial for the most part. That's a decent amount. When we were gardening, it was much less, but I would do like eggs and like peppers and stuff. When it hits the fan, look at this story. It's from CBC from 2019. Cricket beer. Ladies and gentlemen,
Wait.
when it hits the fan, you are going to be eating
this is on the
crickets.
Canadians.
CBC.
And we're going to have fresh eggs because we moved out and we got more space. We got away from those cities. But the cost of living in a city is nuts. It's $5,000 per month on average for an apartment in New York City. For that cost, you can buy yourself a mansion. $5,000.
Or a 100-acre farm.
Or a 100-acre farm.
That's where
And then, yeah.
That's where I am.
And then you can just slowly start figuring out how, use the luxury of the modern era to figure out how to survive on your own before it's too late, man.
Yeah.
You know, because we got amazing tools and electricity. And so the chickens, we don't need to have chickens. We like having chickens. The chickens are funny. We film the chickens. People watch chickens. And then we eat the chickens' butt bounty. Those eggs every day. Yeah, we
I
got
don't
so
like
many.
that.
It's crazy. Butt bounty. That's what it's called. The bounty of the
it's
chicken's butt.
Yeah,
We've
okay.
brought up the Sri Lanka stuff and also the Holland stuff. Like, what happened exactly to bring this famine on? Is there? Would you consider a famine at this point in Holland?
Yeah. No, not in Holland. There's massive shortages in grocery stores. So but that's not the definition of a famine. What's going on in the Netherlands right now is the Prime Minister and the court system there are pushing this policy of reducing nitrogen emissions by 2030. So by 2030, the nitrogen emissions have to be down by 30-40%. And to do that, that means farmers are going to have to cull their herds because there's a lot of nitrogen emission throughout the whole process of raising cattle, pork, and all this. So by culling the herds, they lose their profit margins. Farms aren't the most profitable ventures you can go into. Most people are in it because their families were in it for a long time. So they do this job and they say, okay, cull 30% of the herd. They no longer can afford to keep that land. And for some reason, keep in mind, the Dutch government has said this is only going to be in effect in environmentally sensitive areas, which just happens to be around big cities and coastlines, high value real estate, which has caused people to say, well, why are you targeting us? Why do you want the land? Is that what you really want? And it's become clear that that's what the Dutch government wants. They want to evict these farmers. They don't care about the food. They want the land. And these are farms that have been in families since the 13th century. Like, this is Europe we're talking about, right? It's not even America, where the farm that we're on right now, or the farmland that we're on, has been farmed by Americans for 200, 300 years. Back there, it's been 900 to 10 centuries. So it's pretty tragic what's happening there, and it's even more tragic that the mainstream media isn't giving them a fair shot at saying their piece. They're immediately taking the government's side and saying, they're extremists, just like the people that went to Ottawa. They're racists. They have no idea what they're talking about. But in reality, they do know what they're talking about. And if you're not trusting the farmers with our food supply, I don't think you should be trusting journalists.
So this is a kingdom. It's the kingdom of the Netherlands.
Yes.
So King is orchestrating this?
No. It's run by
Dutch parliament?
by a government, by a parliament.
So
Okay,
we've
so
got a
in the
food
name of
shortage.
the king.
proxy
We've got a
government,
fertilizer
in the name of the
shortage.
king.
We've
They're doing
got
it.
fuel shortages. They don't know if they'll be able to have enough fuel to harvest what they did grow, let alone, if they could grow anything at all because of the fertilizer shortage. They're telling us that the surrounding countries outside of Europe are going to be in serious crisis because of the lack of food, because they won't get imports from Russia and Ukraine. And so Lebanon may start turning into Sri Lanka. And then they tell the Dutch farmers, stop farming.
It's
if
shocking.
the food's already stopped production, why do they need to stop cut down the nitrogen? These countries are eating themselves alive. It's self-immolation.
It is self-immolation, and it's just like Joe Biden cancels Keystone XL, and then gas prices go through the roof. It's like, why'd you do that? You knew what was going to happen. I mean, maybe you didn't know Russia was going to go to war in the Ukraine, but you knew
Climate
what
change
would happen with Keystone XL, and now leaders around the world, from Sri Lanka to the Netherlands and Canada, Justin Trudeau is doing the exact same thing, putting limits on fertilizer use in our country. By 30%, he wants to reduce fertilizer use. And what does that mean? Well, half the planet is fed by fertilizer in one way or another.
Right.
50% of the planet's mouths ingest food because of fertilizer, which is frankly a gift from God.
From Russia.
From Russia, from lots of places. And now they're saying, well, Justin Trudeau is saying specifically, let's reduce that by 30% to help the environment. Well, that's reducing food output by a substantial margin. There's no technology that replaces fertilizer. You don't just plant crops more straight or give it more water. Without the fertilizer, it doesn't grow, and you don't feed people. And then the question is, who's not eating? Who's not?
Well,
gonna
I'm
be
eating. I bought emergency food. I got anything to worry about.
And the funny thing is that like suddenly it's nitrogen. That's what I would like to know. Like,
Where
when
did
did
that
we
come
decide
from?
nitrogen was this thing that had to be regulated? Because we always heard about methane, but
carbon.
methane is when it comes to the fossil fuel industry. So it's like, oh, we can't have oil and gas because that's methane. But when it comes to farming, it's nitrogen. It's like, oh, well, how come it's not methane? Because they don't have any oil in Holland. But they do have farms, so nitrogen is what we have to control. And you're like, wow, that's odd. Where was the decision that nitrogen is suddenly this, just like CO2, carbon? Remember, Joe Biden said at the Scotland Climate Summit that he was going to work with the leaders around the world to rid the atmosphere of carbon.
That would destroy the planet.
Exactly. And all the plants of the world were like, please, no. Like everything alive. But we've decided carbon is bad. And you want to say, where does this come from? Like, what is the driving impetus of this? It's like, oh, it's not about nitrogen or methane or carbon. It's about land. It's about power. It's about, now it makes a lot more sense.
Soon they're going to be regulating oxygen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the next one.
Yeah, it's just that this is just an enormous power grab. It's a land grab, and Europe is going to have land grabs because Europe is small. No offense to our European friends, we love you, but continental Europe is smaller than America. Obviously, then a lot much smaller than Canada. There isn't a lot of land there to begin with. So the land is going to be their biggest problem.
Did
But
you
here
guys-
it's power.
Did you guys see the viral video of the man in his bin full of water in the UK?
No.
It's a hilarious video.
Why is he in water?
Because it's
hot?
the hottest day on
Yeah.
history in the UK. So he took his garbage bin and he filled it with water and he was sitting in it.
Good for him.
And
Is
then
that
some guy-
Dankula?
Some guy pulls up in
Yeah.
a car and he's like, "You're in the bin." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Why?" And he's like, "I'm enjoying the day." And he's like, "But you're in the bin." And then the guy like, I'm pretty sure it's fake, but it's hilarious anyway.
That's funny.
But it's like the UK doesn't have air conditioning.
No.
I don't know if you guys know this.
Europe doesn't. And-
Yeah, it was crazy. I went to the UK for a speaking event. And they put me in a hotel on the top floor.
You're like,
it was
"What
like
is
third or
this?"
fourth floor, and it was like 90 some odd degrees. And then I was like, guys, like I have to go to a speaking event, and I'm drenched in sweat because it's so hot up here. What am I supposed to do? And so they're like, we'll try and figure out a box fan for you. I'm like, that's not going to do anything.
But
It's like, what you people are crazy.
but at least they're green by stuffing everyone who's super sweaty into public transit, so they stand shoulder to shoulder with people who smell like socks. I have an article from 7 years ago. Europe to America. Your love of air conditioning is stupid. I really have to say, I wonder if they still think that now.
Yeah, which journalist wrote that? Let's
I don't
name
know,
and
it's-
shame.
No, they're
Dwarves,
going to say
yeah.
that our use of air conditioning created more carbon emissions, which made the planet hotter. Or
I
whatever.
agree. Yeah,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
sure.
It's
We
always-
just need
always our
to
fault.
plant more trees, man.
Yeah.
You know, trees, they eat carbon
You
out
just,
of the
you
air.
just have to ignore all of these fake metrics because it's a much more a nefarious agenda that has nothing to do with the environment or the planet.
You know, I think climate change is an issue. I think pollution is an issue. Whether you believe in climate change or not, I think human pollution is awful, but it's
Right.
really just the cities.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we've talked about this with people like Michael Malice, and where we come to agreement is cities are too dense and the cities produce a ton of waste. Like if you had one guy, let's say you have 100 people and they're spread out over a mile each person and they all take a dump, right? All at once.
Right.
When you drive 100 miles, you might notice every mile there's some poop on the ground, or you might just be like, oh, I didn't even realize. Imagine if those 100 people all got together in the same city block, formed a circle, and took a big dump.
I like San
Yeah, you would
Francisco.
definitely
Yeah.
notice that, and the density of the human waste would cause ecological problems. This is what's happening with these big cities. They're gluttonous, immature, whiny resource hogs. It's extremely resource intensive to get food into New York City. The roads are congested. There's brake dust and smog and pollution. But you got to get that food in there. So now people are spending $5,000 per month on average to get an apartment. The cost of living is through the roof. And then you move out of the city and it's like really easy to get to the grocery store, way less wasteful. This is the thing about people who live in the countryside, right? More likely to have their own source of food, even if it's a little bit. People out here, they got chickens. You know, I'll see houses and they'll have like 2 or 3 chickens. And I'm like, they're getting some of their food on their own. The chickens will go and eat bugs or grass, and then they'll get eggs from it. That's a little bit of making their own food. They're more likely to be to have solar power. It's harder to get solar if you're in an apartment in New York City. So you have the houses out in the middle of nowhere, and people have more renewable energy sources. I just look at the people who are living out here, and it's like well water.
Yes.
So-
my family had a well. Yeah.
So they're not creating these big sewage wastes. The septic system's handling the waste and then putting the leach water out in
But
the
yeah,
field.
which are the people who are pushing the climate agenda, though?
The people who want to fly around in private jets.
The people who most of them live in the city,
Yep.
Yeah.
right? They're the ones, like you said, they are huge energy sucks.
And they tell you.
You live on the 87th floor of a building, and you don't think that requires tremendous fossil fuels?
Did you see who was it? Kylie or whoever? She flew.
Oh yeah, private jet.
She
his
flew on
and
a
hers.
private jet for 12 minutes, and it was funny because they said that she drove a half an hour in the wrong direction to get to the airport for a trip that would have taken 26 minutes to drive.
Oh my god.
So like it took her longer to drive to the airport to get on the plane to fly like 20 miles or whatever.
That's a very short. 2 airports very close to each other.
Yep. Oh yeah, wasn't it Elon Musk who jumped from like San Francisco to like San Jose over the bay? It was like a 10-minute flight.
That's incredible.
It's an hour, 2-hour drive with
Yeah.
traffic. That flight was 5 minutes.
That's great.
And if you're Elon and you're like, hey, time is money, baby. Let's
Yeah.
roll.
yeah.
That's how it
Yeah,
goes.
and I don't begrudge them that privilege. I don't begrudge them. I don't believe fossil fuels are bad, so I'm never going to say, well, we all have to do our part to conserve. I don't buy that argument. What I do begrudge are people who do that, who want to deny the rest of us that
Exactly.
opportunity, like the John Kerrys of the world, who right now is in some German resort in the Alps planning the climate conference.
Right.
And he flew there on his private jet, and he's like, but we have to get rid of our fossil fuels. It's like, well, you're never going to not eat steak, right? Same with you. I'm sure Klaus is at that meeting, right? And I would love to know what the caviar selection that was there.
Yeah.
Somebody said Tim didn't grow that Vita Coco.
I mean, that's technically
like, well,
correct. Yeah.
I
It
did
came out
say
of a chicken's butt.
Yeah.
It did.
It's just
actually,
a Hawaiian chicken.
we
Magical.
actually have a big coconut palm tree and peaches and mangoes, and it's all.
It's hot enough here.
I didn't say
Jeez.
all of our food was grown by us.
Yeah, part of
It was great having the garden.
Your water is.
Oh yeah, filtered pure well water.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Is it
we
well
got,
water? That's good.
Oh yeah, but it's like super purified and then minerals added back into it.
It's great.
Yeah, and then for Freedomistan with the new studio, it's basically off the grid.
Are you going to pump fluoride into the water systems?
Oh, we do.
We not?
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah,
do
I told
double
you.
the fluoride.
Yeah.
The new
Good for your
I know
animals.
Ian likes
Good
all
for your
those.
teeth
No.
in here.
The new space we have.
Yeah.
The new space has got its own pond
Good.
that we're going to clean up. It's got well water. Obviously, there's a pond right there. We've got solar power and backup batteries. So we're going to try and be as self-sufficient as possible. It's not about like saving the planet. It's about just not getting disrupted when we're doing work.
Yeah.
But hey, I can then be smug and make fun of all the city urban liberal types and be like wag my finger at them based on their own standards.
Awful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, everyone should be as self-sufficient as possible. I'd love to have a small nuclear reactor in my backyard.
Yes.
That'd be
You know,
great.
That'd
It,
be
it would be
reactor.
fantastic. And we thought about it because, again, when Back to the Future came out, at the end, he's got his little Mr. Fusion right in the back of the car. We thought that's what the future was going to be, a little tiny nuclear reactor in the back of your
Perfect.
car. We weren't afraid of it in 1984 whenever
Nope.
that came out, but we're afraid of it now.
Sad.
All right, we're going to go to Super Chats.
Yes.
If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and share the show if you do like it? Head over to timcast.com. We're going to have a members-only show coming up at 11 p.m., uncensored Timcast After Hours. But until then, we will read your Super Chats. Let's see what we got. James Eaton says, when will your album be out, and will there be an option to buy a signed copy? Man, we didn't really plan any of that stuff. We were thinking like August 21st or something, the week of like third week of August. And some of the songs are just really, really great. We'll see. I mean, there's like one song totally done. There's one song that's really close to being done. There's like 5 songs that are like moderately done. We'll see, man. It'll be cool. And I also kind of felt like doing albums is dumb. We're not in that era anymore. Maybe we'll do a vinyl press or something, but like people are just going to go on Spotify or Pandora to listen to it or something like that, or iTunes or whatever. So we'll see, man, All right, let's see. Chibinio says, Tim, please examine H.R. 1808, a highly restrictive bill to limit firearms ownership in an extreme way, before the judiciary tomorrow.
Look it up.
I will look into it. Travis Jackson says, how long until we get the Chicken City animated chickens to do the BioTrust spot?
Yes.
I don't know.
Let's do it.
All right. Raymond G. Maga Stanley Jr. III says, AOC's big smug smile is pure lunatic narcissism. Yep.
Juicy Smollett.
Yeah, that was crazy. It's just so creepy to see her faking being handcuffed.
Yeah.
And Ilhan Omar did the same thing. It's all for photographs.
Yep.
The cop should have been like, just put your hands down. Like, put your hands to your side.
He should have actually cuffed her, but on the front.
Yeah.
Like, put your hands around the front, we're going to cuff you, and then just not do it.
Yeah.
All right. Justice Forrell says, hey, Tim, wait until a poor man in Texas forces a woman who makes more money than him to have his baby, and then she has to pay him for alimony and child support. The left will
gosh.
scream about unfairness and will never see the irony. Hey, that's crazy, too. And we're getting there.
Shifted paradigm.
Zach Orton says, Tim, you should try to get Mark Dice on your show. He's very knowledgeable about government and things that are purposefully hidden from society. I'm pretty sure we've reached out to him several times.
Mark's great, but he's
yeah.
one of those very busy people.
Yeah, he's a busy fella.
He's a busy dude.
Huh.
Love to, yeah. It'd be great.
Mark Nice says, this reminds me of the zone of death in Yellowstone, where murder could theoretically happen and you wouldn't get prosecuted for it because there is no residents in that district to fill a jury.
Ha.
Really? Is that true?
I'm sure that sounds like an urban legend.
Theoretically.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The feds would come in and have you try you in a federal jurisdiction or something. Not enough people to fill a jury. Tetra says, hey, Tim and crew, wife has a rare dental condition that needs surgery. Would appreciate all the help we can get. GoFundMe / rare dental condition needs treatment and surgery. Well, good luck.
Oh, that's long, but yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, man.
Raymond G. Magasanley Jr. III says bleeding Colorado may be the new bleeding Kansas. Look, I'm not saying any of that stuff is happening, but I'm just like, what happens if that scenario does arise? I mean, it's an untenable situation. Like the Texas government says, sorry, man, your kid's being taken to be killed. Ain't nothing we can do about it. It's gonna get crazy, man.
But we can't prevent good laws from being enacted out of fear of how that law will be interpreted or used in the future. You can't you can't say don't build a beautiful church because someone may burn it down, right? So you have to pass laws that are just and right, understanding that in the future it's going to be muddy and dirty. That's society. But it's still the right decision. Sorry, super chats.
No, it's like people
Yeah.
who say that they're scared of getting a dog because they know the dog's going to die. And it's going to be sad, and it's like,
Get it anyway.
so you give up all of the a decade of love. Like when you're sad, your dog dies. It's not a bad thing. It's like all of that gift of joy given to you by the dog being released all at once. You got to pay your dues, man.
Sad enough to the dog. How many people do it with a human being?
All right.
I can't possibly date someone or fall in love or get married because the person may hurt me one day.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a great way to live your life.
That's terrible.
Oh, tragic.
Yeah.
All right. Anwar Abu Baker says, I tried finding the statute relating to abortion that indicates you can abort up till birth in the state of Colorado. Can't find it. So I looked it up. It's the new abortion bill they passed, and it's just there's no restrictions in it.
Yeah.
That's the issue, is that the bill they passed just does not have any restrictions. So I was reading some website about it too, and it was talking about how there's nothing codified preventing these things. Tattered Shield says, sent a super chat a while ago about goblin tokens and made a video on it. It's a post called Tim Learns About Goblins. Also, anyone who voted for Biden has no right to criticize the way Trump spoke. That's a fair point. You can criticize Trump like he had a potty mouth, and it's like, yeah, and Joe Biden's got a demented mouth. I don't know. Like, there's equal issues there, I suppose. Josh says, I award Ian no points, and may God have mercy on his soul.
That's a good quote, though.
Kemlove says, Ian saying just because you think something, it doesn't mean it's real is exactly what's wrong with this country. Augusto says, Ian is right. Murder is defined by the state. There is no federal government law against murder. Is that true?
I don't know. That sounds crazy.
No, that sounds right, though.
No, interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. Someone look it up.
Because normally when I think about it, when they go to federal court, it's usually on like violation of civil rights, right?
It's interstate commerce stuff.
Yeah, but they but that's a great, again, that's why we need some good lawyers and you have good Timcast super fans who know these things.
Kaipak says, stop bashing Colorado. We did not vote for this. Didn't Colorado vote for this?
Don't know.
Well, that's what they're getting. Maybe you should vote Republican, I guess. All right. Seeds of Truth says, what makes me aggravated about Ian is that he has no courage to stand for or value anything. Nothing is worth dying for or fighting for, and no idea is worth asserting for him. A man with no chest.
I'd love to see you make some YouTube videos and put your face behind those words.
Oh. Maybe he does.
Yeah, send me a link to your YouTube channel.
Make 1984 Fiction again says, Ian saying killing a baby is murder is postmodernism. You cannot agree on words. You are the poster child for postmodernism. Right back at you.
I said not that killing a baby is postmodernism, fellow, but that calling something murder when it's not because you feel like it is postmodernism.
Joseph McFarland says, Tim, the jurisdiction issue you presented to Ian is precisely the type of event that kicked off the Hatfield-McCoy War, and lawful courts were involved in all actions prior to that kicking off. I don't know a whole lot about that.
Yeah, look that up.
Yeah.
I just remember the Bugs Bunny episode about it, but I don't think that was based
version.
totally on fact.
Patriot says, Ian just made the same argument about abortion re Colorado v. Texas that slave owners made for the legality of the treatment of and sometimes killing of their slaves. It's not murder because they don't have rights. Actually, that's right. You saying it's not murder because the state defines murder and they're not defining it as murder is exactly why slave owners were allowed to kill people.
I'm making a legal argument.
Right,
They
yeah.
used legal arguments for that too.
Right.
Doesn't mean that legal arguments are wrong.
And my argument stands as well that eventually people stormed into those states and started, like John Brown shot multiple people in the face.
Yeah, and my argument was Dred Scott was a legal decision. It was the wrong one, but that's what the law said. And so Yeah.
So I think to that point, yeah, we are dangerously close to a situation like a John Brown, Bleeding Kansas kind of circumstance where some dude just says they're literally trafficking women, kidnapping the children of these guys to kill them. And they're going to go up and it's going to be a fight over
What
it.
if a pregnant woman drank alcohol and the baby miscarried and then they murdered her? They executed her for murder.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a good thing.
Let's not go there.
So this is actually
It's not an
happening.
issue where
There are mothers who are getting very long prison terms, and they're saying it's because they miscarried, and you read it, and it's because these women knew they were pregnant and did things like meth voluntarily. They just continued with their drug use, and their baby died, and they're like, that's actually a crime. You should be more careful about this little person who's dependent on you. Not alcohol as such, but hard drugs. So
Alcohol's a hard drug.
yeah.
Guy Allgood says federal law specifies what happens over borders by the Constitution. The legal term you're looking for is called sovereignty, and each state holds dual sovereignty with the federal government. There was a period like 10 years ago or longer where a bunch of states started like asserting sovereignty, like being like, we just want to make sure everybody knows this.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Look that up.
All right. Carpe Donctum. Is that the Carpe Donctum?
What?
Says if you can figure out how to drive across state lines to buy weed, you can do it to kill your baby.
True.
Man, that's crazy. All right. We'll grab some super jits. Eric Miller says Texas abortion is illegal. Colorado abortion is legal. The feds abortion is on our radar. Well, the Bidens defended it. So, I mean, let's look at it this way. What happens if, okay, so I gave you a scenario right now. I got a crazier one. What happens if a woman in Texas gets pregnant and then starts fighting with the guy 8 months on, and she's like, you know what, I'm getting rid of this baby. I can't live with this guy. And she goes to Colorado. The guy calls the local police and says, help, help, she's kidnapped my unborn son and plans to abort him. She then posts on social media, be like, haha, you'll never stop me. I'm going to do it. And I'm in Colorado and I'm allowed to. And then President Trump goes, excuse me, we're sending in law enforcement and feds to stop this. What if the feds actually do intervene on behalf of Texas for a violation of the law and then do go and arrest her? What's Colorado going to do?
You'd think that they should be like the law of the place where your permanent address is should be what applies to you. That's I mean, that's what
I don't know.
I think would happen in Canada.
I just think,
I'm
like,
not a lawyer.
What if the federal government said, we're going to go in and arrest this woman to bring her back to stop her from killing this kid? Is Colorado going to be like, okay? Or are they going to be like, you can't come here and take someone who lives
Yeah,
here?
they can't. The federal government's not involved. The federal government threw their hands up in the air with overturning Roe v. Wade. They're not.
No, I'm saying what would happen if Donald Trump gets elected and then says, we will protect the child and sends in federal law enforcement to arrest the woman for kidnapping?
And you arrest the federal law enforcement with local police.
And welcome to civil war.
Yeah.
No, man. Or you just don't comply. Like, you lie to them. You move them around. Like
We
what they would do when the feds would go try and bust dispensaries for weed in California. The
We
California
saw
cops did not play
ATF
ball.
agent get arrested. He was trying to serve a warrant and he wouldn't comply with the police, so they arrested him. Not really the same thing. That was more of just like if a cop tells you to put your hands up, don't go, but I'm a cop,
Yeah.
shut up.
I got to think the states would win because look at sanctuary city laws on the state level when the state says we're not going to tell the feds that we have illegal immigrants in our state.
Yeah.
And the feds are like, you're hosting illegal immigrants. And the state says, we're not going to say anything. The feds never come in guns a-blazing saying, we're going to get them anyway. The feds back down. I got to think the same precedent would happen that although the feds have jurisdiction, the states have seniority. Is my hunch because it's a state law.
This is interesting.
Again, not a lawyer.
Dense Alloy says, Ian, what about California murder statute on the books? If someone kills a fetus, it's murder. How do you rationalize that? 30-odd states have the same law. So I think, yeah, in California, if, like, you punch a woman in the face and she falls down and the baby dies, you get murder for the baby, too.
Yeah, Lacey Peterson.
If you kill someone else's baby, that's illegal killing. But if the woman wants to kill her own baby in an abortion, that's not illegal. So it's not murder.
So, like, this is where there's a fracture of the moral logic. If the woman takes an illegal drug and kills the baby, does she get charged? As Lydia pointed out, that's been happening. So it's like, if the woman kills the baby through a mean other than at an abortion clinic, it is murder. But if she asks the doctor to do it, it's not murder. The same outcome.
I don't know about California law. It would be a statute. State
I guess the
by state
question
law.
is, would using a coat hanger count as a murder then?
I don't know.
I don't know what the
This
law
is
is.
crazy stuff,
Yeah.
man. No easy answers to any of this stuff.
Nope.
But the point is, killing the baby in the woman is murder in like 30 odd states, he says.
If I killed her baby without her permission, yes, it would be murder, probably everywhere. But
Like, imagine having a 7-year-old kid and being like, I'm allowed to kill it.
It's my kid. Yep.
Like, that's the moral failing. There's a logical fracture that makes no sense. You can't just be like, a woman can decide to kill her kid unless it's escaped the 2 inches of her gullet.
Birth canal. Yeah.
Gullet.
She can, like, so here's the thing. A woman can cut herself open, take the baby out, and then kill it. Like, okay, how about this? A woman gives birth on prom night and throws the baby in a dumpster. She goes to prison.
People
yeah,
don't like
because
that,
it's
yeah.
born.
That makes no sense.
It's not illogical.
So it's
thing.
like-
it's just the way it's written.
This is the point I made on Twitter that triggered the left. I was like, what if a woman is like speeding to the abortion clinic and then she gets inside and she goes, quick, I need an abortion before it's born. Oh no. And then she gives birth right on the floor of the abortion clinic. It's like, too late.
Well, Ralph Northam was like, we'll have a conversation. We'll keep the baby comfortable and have that conversation. That's why my dad was always pro-choice up until 18 years of age.
Oh, wow.
Because he was like, you all should have been aborted. Sometime in high school, he's like, we should always have that. I mean, Dad's militantly pro-life. He's Catholic, but that was his joke. He was like, if you're going to allow abortion, you need to give me at least like another 16, 17 years after
That's
birth.
spicy. I love it.
Yeah, like what about what Northam said?
Yeah.
Like, now you can literally kill the baby after birth. When he said the baby would be delivered, made comfortable.
Baby's made comfortable.
And
while
will
the
be- and
mother
then-
and the doctor have a conversation.
About what to do next, yeah.
About whether or not to execute the living child.
Oh, but what do
Yeah.
you mean? It's not legally wrong, so it's not execution. It's abortion,
Not
right?
murder.
No, the baby's already born. It's not an abortion at that point.
Legally, he's saying it would be.
Yeah,
Right?
That would
the
be like
law would
saying
define it
like a
that way.
post-death killing. That if they're dead, you can't kill them.
Wait,
if they're
what do you-
born, you can't abort them.
If the state says you can abort a baby outside the womb, Ian, that's your argument.
That's not an abortion. That's a kill.
So,
I mean, abortion could be considered a kill, but it's a non-abortion kill at that point.
no, you're wrong. The state doesn't say that, and state defines murder.
Well, abortion
If
is the
Northam
termination
says-
of a pregnancy. If the pregnancy's over and the baby's born, then
Defined by who?
abortion's gone now. It's
Defined
no
by
longer
who?
part of
If
it.
Northam says it's post-birth abortion, then it is. It's not murder.
If he says it, then it must be real.
That's literally what you argued. That it's not murder because the state has to define it as murder. I'm making your argument.
Maybe it's
to
not a
you.
murder in that state. I don't know.
Well,
That's
Virginia,
literally what I'm
Virginia was
saying.
proposing that. It didn't go through, but
Right.
that's what they were proposing, which is
So, like, I
pretty
think it doesn't
radical.
matter what they can write down on paper. Like, if you kidnap someone and force them to work for you, you are committing an atrocity against
Yeah,
humanity,
but
regardless of what legality is.
It does matter what's written down, because if you're going to want to go to war with someone and kill their civilians or kill their military-age men, you can't do it. It's murder. But if you sign the paperwork, now it's legal.
Triton54 says, Tim, the trial of the murder of David Dorn started yesterday. Just something I thought you might want to keep an eye on. Ian, you seem to get a little emotional a few days ago. I hope you're doing okay.
Yeah, I'm a little distraught with the negativity of like hating on people, but one day at a time. Keep breathing.
All right, Mr. Obvious says, dropping 50 big ones. YouTube removed my 4chan Hunter Biden iPhone story. It got 100K views and was done in a mock documentary style. Claimed it was harassment and cyberbullying. Baloney. I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take it anymore. I'm speaking out. Hey, appreciate it, man.
Hurrah.
Thanks for the super chat. And, good luck. I don't know. Tina Colette, my prediction is that Biden will sell our wheat harvest, causing a booze shortage. There will be violent riots, but no Molotov cocktails. Oh, no. Oh, jeez.
I like that you
Adrian Curry
pronounced it
says Ian is
wheat.
a nice guy.
Thanks, Adrian.
Ian is too nice of a guy. That's your biggest problem. Is that when your heart is so big, you don't know how to control all of its borders. Ian is too nice of a guy.
Joe Daraki says, I am supercharting this. Supercharting. Just so Tim will say, watch Pop Culture Crisis Monday through Friday live, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 Pacific.
Yes.
P.S. Ian kills it on PCC.
Oh, then you might want to watch Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Pop Culture Crisis.
We're doing a big Times Square thing again, and we're going to have a big Roberto Jr. rooster up on Times Square.
Finally.
And I posted that, and people were like, that's so dumb, it's a waste of money. And I'm like, I know it's funny, but it's actually part of a big Timcast.com like ad thing we're doing. So putting Roberto Jr. up there is going to actually catch a lot of attention and be really worth it. Because people are going to be like, why is there a giant rooster? Just like, what is this? And then it's like a bunch of other ads.
Don't put the URL to cocktown.com on the
Well,
ad.
we don't own that
That's-
one.
Okay, all right.
Maybe cocktown.org.
Cocktown, excuse me.
Cocktown.net.
.org is the right one, though.
.org.
I really believe .org is probably already taken. We're going to get in
I'm
trouble.
still laughing at that.
Ozzy the Terrible says, Tim, need to have movie watch night with Soylent Green. They Live, Idiocracy, and Demolition Man, and Dr. Strangelove. The cult is merging the stories together. They were telling us what they wanted to do. AD and V for Vendetta 2. It would be cool if we can get the rights to do something like that. Like live reaction to movies, like Mystery Science Theater, but, not just comic, but political shows and stuff. I don't know if we can do that for copyright reasons, though.
You should if someone could make Brondo, though, that would be great.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Brondo.
It's got electrolytes.
It's what plants crave. Tommy Grashong says, a porterhouse is a T-bone with New York strip steak on one side and tenderloin filet on the other side. Oh, yeah. It is delicious. But the filet mignon is just so better. Medium rare. Just melts in your mouth. A true free thinker says, I would gladly pay you Tuesday for a bug burger today. What was that guy's name?
Wimpy.
Wimpy? I would gladly pay you Tuesday. And then Tuesday comes around and he's like, well, I'll pay you now, but I still want a burger, so give me the money back. Yeah, okay. Jacob Perez says, Tim, in Mexico, there's a local Aztec delicacy enjoyed in states like Oaxaca where grasshoppers are fried, marinated in lime juice, salt, and garlic. Oof. Not for me.
People can be wrong.
That's true.
Sometimes entire countries as well.
Yeah, that's true too.
Is there like a weird thing that Americans eat that other countries think is nasty?
Yeah, like deep fried everything.
High fructose
No,
corn syrup.
everybody loves that.
It's a lot of chemical
Yeah, high
stuff.
fructose corn syrup.
Sodium benzoate.
Splenda.
Yeah.
Splenda, I think, is terrible.
Oh yeah, the EU has long lists of stuff that's not allowed in the EU that we eat here.
Yeah, you're telling that has like uranium in it.
Yeah, we were looking at that right before the
Uranium?
show. I was like, there's a whole list of stuff. Something like chocolate chip cookies have like cadmium
And
in it, stuff like that.
yam fries, or what was it? Sweet potatoes.
Yeah, sweet potatoes. Really weird, right?
Yeah.
You
Wait,
think they're healthy.
Uranium.
They're not healthy?
No, so
Not
they can
according to
have like
Europe.
unhealthy deposits of
Oh.
heavy metals. Yeah.
Huh.
Depending on where they're grown, I'm sure.
All
Daily
right.
Mail.
Kevin Brandt says, can I get a shout out for my birthday? The D is silent in my last name. Also, what happens when a company pays a Texas employee to get an abortion? Oh, wow.
Oof.
That's interesting. Like, Amazon's got employees in Texas, right?
I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah.
That's what the
Facilitating criminal activities.
That's what the $4,000 is for, to leave the state
Wow.
and
Like, I'm pretty sure if you're in Texas and you give someone money to commit a crime somewhere else, like, there's still a crime there.
I don't think so, because if I was in a state where a drug was illegal and I'm like, I'm going to go to another state and do it, they don't care.
You're paying them to do it. That's what I'm saying. So imagine being like, I want you to commit X. Here's money. Go do it and do it across the state line.
Especially
like,
if the
pretty
transaction-
sure it's still illegal.
If the transaction happened in the
Right.
state, like I would assume it's similar for America, but in Canada, like we charge Canadians who go and fight for ISIS. The crime was over there, but when they come back, you still charge them with terrorism or murder or whatever it is.
This is going to get weird
yeah.
the way it's implemented. 'Cause I don't think Texas is going to invade Colorado.
All I know is that if I was a dude living in Texas and I worked for Amazon in today's woke culture, every week I would need my $4,000 for another abortion. I would go to HR because, like, how do you know
They're
I'm
getting
not
sued for
pregnant?
this.
I would go to HR like not every week. You can't get pregnant that often, but how often
Once
can
a
I get
month.
pregnant?
Yeah.
I can get pregnant
These-
every 2 months. I would go and be like, I need another $4,000 abortion money.
Yeah.
Well, what's the limit?
Thank you.
Like maybe
Abortion
maybe they
allowance.
say one per certain amount of time.
So you
But
saying I'm
they're-
a slut? Is that
but-
what you're
Is that what
accusing
you
me
said?
of?
You're supposed
These
to-
companies
Do you
are
think
being
I
sued.
can't sleep around?
That's right.
These companies are being sued for discrimination because they're offering a benefit only to females.
That's true.
And that's
yeah.
sexual discrimination. So if they're going to offer a medical benefit in that degree, it has to be equal to men and women.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So I would get it all
Men
the
can get
time.
pregnant.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, you'd argue. I think the argument is simple. It's like, well, my girlfriend needs it.
Oh, perfect.
Yep. Give me the money. They might say that we don't pay for it. We don't pay you. We pay for the trip and the expense and the bill when you submit it for
Okay,
reimbursement.
cool. Yeah, I'll be in Colorado for 4 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll be at the Four Seasons Denver
I know,
having
going to
my
Boulder,
abortion.
yeah.
I mean, here's an interesting question then. What happens if a doctor in Colorado forges invoices and just sends them to Amazon in Texas?
Yeah.
And
Why
then it's
not?
like, well, the feds, it's illegal here, so do something about it. I mean, it's fraud.
I don't think there's really a lot of forgery or fraud in the medical profession.
Yeah,
I don't
you're
know.
probably right.
I'm sure that's not a thing. Yeah.
I don't think invoicing fake medical procedures. I don't think that's
I
a
think
thing.
forging prescriptions.
Yeah,
ever
you got to be
happened.
honest
yeah.
to experiment on people.
Tim, live in the now. Live in the reality. Stop making up these hypotheticals.
Right.
All right. Ian Kinney says you should check out the World Economic Forum's First Movers Coalition, headed by John Kerry. They're going to be attacking a lot of industries. Yikes. Calvin Rams says, not pro-choice, but I worry that women who now have to give birth will have disdain for the child. Hope they embrace it. Could bring them happiness. I believe that probably like 99% of women who have the kids will not feel regret or anger or disdain. Maybe not 99%, but the only, like, it's really simple. Like, obviously, if you have the kid, you're going to be like, I love my child. I'm glad I didn't do it. And if you do abort it, you're like, I don't know, there's no kid to love. So it's funny when you see women who get abortions say, it was the greatest choice of my life. And then women who are like, I thought about getting an abortion and changed my mind, and it was the greatest decision of my life. It's like, well, yeah, because your life is what it is now, and you're content doing what you're doing. Like, you will be happy with kids for the most part. Mm-hmm. Some people aren't. That's why I say for the most part. The Rectifier says, Tim, thank you for everything you do. My brother recommended your channel a few months ago. I've since felt the need to run for office to try to make a difference. Here. Glad. Well, go for it, man. Best of luck. Change the world. Mama says, taking a minor across state lines is a federal crime and the feds will prosecute. Abortions will likely fall under the Interstate Commerce Clause. That's interesting. The federal government might not say it was for the abortion. They might say for an illicit service illegal in the state in question. Mm-hmm. So I have to wonder. I have no idea how any of that will work. Victor Reznov says, who says Trump will do anything about cross-state abortions? Did he do anything to stop or address the 2019 riots? What is giving you this? You mean 2020 riots?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the riots in 2019 as well. Yep. Joshua Renner says, I've been to an orphanage in Quito in the 90s. Saw a photo of a baby abandoned in a shopping bag covered with fire ants, dropped off by cops, the infant like that to the orphanage. Wow.
Oof.
It's bad.
I don't know, man. This is getting absolutely crazy. My friends, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button and subscribe to the channel? Head over to timcast.com. We're going to have an uncensored after-hours show coming up at 11 p.m. tonight. You don't want to miss it. And when you sign up, you're signing up through Parallel Economy, which is Dan Bongino's involved in it. You said he was a founder?
Yeah, one of them. One of two.
One of the founders.
Yeah.
It's a censorship-resistant payment processor, which means we are taking the steps to challenge Silicon Valley's stranglehold over big tech. We want to change it. When you sign up at timcast.com, you're helping them, you're helping us, you're helping change that system. The goal with timcast.com is we're going to make more shows, like members-only shows, TV shows, documentaries, comedy specials, to start challenging Disney and Netflix and Hulu. To put it this way, we're not going to make woke content. And instead of me telling you, just cancel your Disney now and sign up for us, you could, you should, fine. I'd rather not have you stop watching shows you like and just for the 3 shows we have. I want to make more shows and prove we're going to have excellent content that is worth your money, because that's how you really win regular people over. Y'all may be mission driven and say, I'm going to sign up for timcast.com because I believe in this. But how do we get the regular people who subscribe to Netflix to stop doing it? We need to give them meaningful alternatives. So head over to timcast.com. And again, smash that like button. Would you kindly? And you can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Keean, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, I would love if everyone went to DutchUprising.com. That's where we're publishing all of our content about. It's grown from the Netherlands to uprisings around the world, but it really started with the Dutch, and all of our coverage about what's going on with the Dutch farmers there. You can check it out and pitch into our coverage as well. We're all viewer funded, so it goes a long ways.
Right on.
Daniel Turner, Power of the Future, powerofthefuture.com. Daniel Turner, PTF on platforms if you want to talk about the radical green movement and the importance of energy and the love of fossil fuels. Or if you love farmers, Bristol Farm, Virginia on Instagram.
So
Bristol
fun.
Farm, Virginia for your favorite sheep farmers. And they're fun, and cattle as well. But it's a fun little Instagram.
You have like goat's milk and stuff like that?
No goats, sheep
Sheep's
and
milk?
cows. We decided not to milk the sheep because it's just one more thing to do. So in time, we'll build
got any
out
meat?
In time, we'll build up meat and wool for now. Yeah, but in
Can we
time,
buy it?
Sure.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah.
Eat some sheep?
You can buy a whole lamb.
All right, let's do it.
In November.
In November.
Yeah.
And then what do we do? Put it over an open pit?
Well, I can bring it
We
to
like-
you.
You spin the thing?
We
over the fire?
can give it to you butchered
Steak.
and vacuum sealed, and you can get all the different cuts, or I can give
wow.
you the whole darn thing.
What if you just came over to Freedomistan with the whole darn thing, and we just like roasted it outside over a pyre or something?
Happy to do so.
Some massive fire.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah.
Easy.
That would be like, brutal.
Very Game of Thrones-esque. It would be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Cottage
That's
core.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Primal.
Yeah.
Primal, that's the word. Yeah,
And
very
then, so
primal.
one big
Put an
big
apple in its
spit
mouth.
with that, exactly, and then a little tiny one with little tiny crickets, little
Yeah,
tiny
little
spit over
with
here.
crickets. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Like one crank that turns like 16 little.
One little match,
all at
you
once.
know, it's just
Cricket rotisserie.
And we'll
Yeah.
get another
That'd be
small
great.
one with a broccoli for the vegans.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
Love it.
So Bristol Farm, Virginia. It's a wonderful, wonderful Instagram, and great to be here with y'all. And like I said, I am serious. Your biggest problem is you have a big heart. When you have a huge heart, you have lots of borders, and you can't control your borders, and all the bad gets in, but all the good gets out. And Ian's biggest problem is that his heart is very, very big. When you have a small heart like me, you can control it very, very well, but then there's not an awful lot of love to give. So you would much rather have a big heart than a small one.
You might be right. Sometimes I think about the horror that I would inflict on my enemies, but that's I try not to have enemies because I don't want to inflict horror on humans. So
That's
let's
good.
hope that we don't go to that place ever.
No.
And keep things nice, calm, and peaceful. See you guys later. I'm Ian Crossland, iancrossland.net. Bye.
For sure. One of the ways I stay positive is by following Bristol Farms on Instagram.
Oh,
It is
thank
very
you.
cute and sweet. The evenings, the summer evenings with the little lambs is just freaking idyllic. So hopefully that will continue for you guys, and hopefully the world doesn't fall apart, and hopefully we're all at peace for the rest of our time on Earth. You guys can follow me on Twitter and minds.com as Sour Patch Lids, as well as Sour
I
Patch Lids.
get the Sour Patch Kids now.
That's right. Now it makes
Oh
sense.
my gosh.
He just figured it out. It took him all the way through the show. I stocked the Sour Patch Kids on our table because I'm Sour Patch Lids. That's
That makes
why.
sense.
We will see you all over at timcast.com. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye, guys.